Yeah, it's your fault.
Is it my fault?
You 100% did it. You were like, hey, put the TV on 4K.
I mean, that is true, actually.
Yeah.
All right, we're
True.
live. Hey, everyone.
Oh,
hello.
hi. Hello.
Look at this. We're live on the internet. Welcome to the pre-show of the Full Nerd. We have a special delivery coming right in. We got the delivery driver showed up. It's cool that the delivery driver wore a Full Nerd t-shirt.
We're just getting them
That's
on the
really
show.
cool. Yeah. Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
These guys are so nice they invited me to stay.
Yeah. Good to see you.
I got a special package.
What'd you get? That's a box. That's a cardboard box. It has a bag in it.
Okay.
What's in the box?
Yeah, what's in the box?
Wow.
It
Oh
looks
my
like-
God, you got those?
Oh, you didn't know this?
No.
You didn't know?
No.
Yeah.
Live
so it even comes
unboxing.
with a little string backpack with the whole, was it Bliss scene? I forgot
Yeah,
what
it's called Bliss. Have
Yeah.
you been there? Have you made the pilgrimage?
No.
It has houses in front of it now. It's not
Oh,
as
does
good.
it?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. The bag even has like a little 50 anniversary.
That is
That's
actually,
50th anniversary
yeah,
of
and,
Microsoft.
and for these kind of bags, that quality is not bad.
It's not
it
bad.
looks
It's
like you
not
make a pillow out
great.
of it.
I mean,
It's
does
very-
anybody actually use those bags as like a backpack though?
I
use
Really?
them. I
Yeah.
use them for. I leave them in the car for groceries and stuff. So if I'm
Yeah, but you don't
It
wear it like a
is.
backpack.
It is.
Oh my God!
Crocs, yes.
I got the Windows XP Crocs.
Yes.
Nice. That looks
Those,
nice.
what are the giblets? Gibbets, whatever they call them.
Particularly great quality, actually. I was surprised by this, but I guess I was expecting too much for $90 or something, however like crazy amount
Look,
they cost.
look, they cast those out of artisanal plastic. Okay.
This is true.
Yeah.
But we got some fan favorites here. We've got the we got Clippy. We have the Internet
Wait, you don't
Explorer
like Clippy?
logo.
Clippy's
I
not
love
XP
Clippy.
era.
He was still there.
I mean, yeah,
Clippy was
he was
gone
around
by
for
then.
XP.
He was our
Yeah, he's around for XP.
It was Office 97 was Clippy, wasn't it?
I mean, maybe that's where you
I
got
thought it was
introduced.
4XP.
Yeah.
Well, no, here's the thing. Remember back in those days when we didn't have software as service, and so
Oh,
you just
wow.
held
Now
onto
I'm
your
sad.
license forever. So yes, you're correct, but also yes, we're correct
Yeah,
too.
it was Office XP was
Oh,
the one
you're
that added
right.
DocX. So
Yeah.
you had to that was when you had to switch.
He was disabled.
I mean,
Yeah.
you were supposed to.
Well, but if you wanted to support the new formats, you had to
yes,
switch.
correct.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people
Oh.
who didn't want to pay for
no,
the
of course.
license.
It
Yeah,
was like
so
$300. May I?
And you
Yes.
could manually turn it on.
and
And he wasn't.
Internet Explorer and a file folder.
we have the recycle bin. We have a gigantic arrow, which actually reminds me a lot of Gordon
pretty
because
good.
he used
Oh,
to
yeah,
love to
I
make
love a
his
big arrow.
arrows.
Classic.
And then we have the MSN butterfly.
Oh,
I think this is one way to really tell somebody's age. So the joke is that millennials don't age, which I don't think is true. But apparently
I
the
got
younger
bad news.
the younger generations say that we don't look, and it's kind of true. We don't look the same age
They're brand new.
as for
You've lived
anyone.
an easier life than the Gen Xers
I,
who've been through
I think
3
so,
recessions instead of
but
2.
this is one way to tell how old somebody is, because if they can recognize what this butterfly is,
Right.
they're of a certain age.
Also, these are real genuine Crocs.
I believe
Those
so.
look, these
Yeah,
are like
I
these
mean,
are like grippy Crocs.
It
on
says
the bottom.
Crocs TM, so
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm disappointed. There's an opportunity to put. There's no Windows logo which seems like a missed opportunity.
I know. It's very
Oh.
strange.
Way more than the MSN butterfly.
I know.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
well, but also, yeah, you could put it here instead of the Croc, but maybe that's
You know what the problem with
Uh,
these?
is that a Croc thing? I guess.
That's the Croc.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
No, but like,
it
are
should
all
be
Crocs
there.
have that?
All Crocs have that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's.
I think the problem is that this was designed by Gen Z, who was just like, "What's some crap
that is
old
true.
people like?" And
Yeah.
then they jammed the gibbets on.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's awesome though that
How are the gibbets? holding me?
They poke through.
Oh, you just
that
push them in.
they're reliving the
Dolls.
nostalgia. But I'm not sure if I would have chosen this. I would have much preferred a ugly holiday sweater or something.
Yeah, I like my ugly holiday sweater. It's pretty good.
I don't know. I am not a fan
Don't
of
break
Crocs
Elena's
at all.
vintage.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I don't know how to
so-
put gibbets back in.
Oh, God.
Sorry. I'll let
But
you
yeah,
do it.
actually, I like the backpack best.
It's pretty good, but I would take Clippy and the
what did
MSN
you
logo
do?
off.
I
of
took it
there.
out. I don't know. You're late.
Where was it?
It was
in a
right
hole.
there. Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Wow.
can see the stress. What are you doing to my Crocs?
I'm
I
sorry.
told him
I
not
thought
to do it.
I thought
Adam
giblets were easy
fidgets
to
everything.
take in and out. I just thought it was a
Stop
thing.
fidgeting.
Adam ruins everything.
Yes.
That's what we always say
These
here.
are
at
He's the
It's
new
PCWorld.
host for that.
Difficult to
Brad,
put back in.
this is abuse. You have to report this.
You just
I
Welcome.
can't believe you did this before we even took the photo shoot, man.
I'm sorry.
They're
supposed to. Is there?
You want me to put 'em
I thought
back
they
in
were
and put it-
marketed as like easy to install and
no, they're
uninstall.
not. They're designed to be hard to get out, so you don't lose them.
The gibbets?
They're collectible.
Well, no,
I
but
have
people
two
you can
gibbets.
buy them.
Yeah, you can't buy those.
What? Well,
Oh my goodness.
I, thought
I actually
sorry,
spent
I
like
thought-
the $70 or $80 to get my daughter the Minecraft ones a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, those are pretty good.
And those things were a pain to get out, but after like a year, like 4 of them fell out. So
Yeah.
you can't replace them. It's great.
Sorry, Lynn.
Yep.
No.
I need. Oh, this is Nashirali has the number one question here. Do I have to wear a Linux crock on one foot and a Windows crock on the other to dual boot?
Dual croc. Yeah, I like
Yes.
that dual boot.
croc.
I like it.
Buzzinga.
Yes.
But what if they made a Vista version? 300X ZX Turbo says I'd take a Vista over
You-
Windows 11.
Elena, do you? I'm the Gibbets installer in my house.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask you
Yeah,
to do this
sorry.
after the show.
Sorry,
Yeah, I
Lynn.
can just do
Oh,
it
you
right
can
now.
do
if
it
you
now.
pass it
Great,
over.
thanks.
Is it this one right here? Oh, I
Yeah.
see where it went. Yeah. See Adam's mistake.
Sorry.
So, are we going to talk about Halloween here, or do we want to talk about that in the real show?
Well, I brought some candy.
We'll talk about the real show so
Yeah.
that the audio listeners don't miss out all the fun.
Yeah, and we can eat some Reese flavored Oreos. Speaking of Reese's, I rewatched E.T. last night and realized
Wow.
that that's a boring movie still. I never liked it growing up.
I was terrified as a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah, I
Oh
ran
my
screaming from the
god!
room.
Why did you do that? It's dark. Will practices the dark arts. Okay, he definitely.
They
you
call me
definitely.
the Gibbets King of
Dude,
Pacifica.
seriously,
So
you definitely are on my zombie apocalypse team.
hey,
So-
I mean, I'm sure everyone's gonna want to put in a bid, but like, I'm just letting you know early my preferences and intent.
Oh, that's
Taking
why.
offers.
Yeah, that's what makes you guys a good duo, right? Because Adam breaks things, and then Will
Yeah, I fix
fixes
them.
things. So
I'm like,
that
I
works,
come
I
up
guess.
behind.
Or he complicates things enough.
Look, I'm the one who complicates things.
Yes.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Wow, that's
I
some
am
projection, man.
even
It is true.
keel.
That's some projection.
I mean, you're not as bad as somebody else we know, but
I'm not naming names. Okay, so wait, we're going to talk about something important
Willis,
here.
jiggle that pot for me. Just now the actual
Yeah, now it's
gain
worse.
dial. Now the gain dial. Just jiggle. Yeah.
I have contact cleaner at home. We can just blast it in there.
Yeah, it's a dirty pot, I think.
You're a dirty
Yeah.
pot.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so we're not talking about Halloween now because I have a really
save it.
good
Let's save it.
children's story.
Let's save it.
Children's
okay.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a story about children.
Brad, hello, welcome.
Oh, did
Hello.
Brad borrow
I'm
a
here.
child for Halloween? We should ask that question too.
Oh yeah. No, let's save it.
Save it.
Save it. Let's start it up. How are the hamsters?
It's running as good as it can be.
Yeah, cross your fingers for these hamsters because the past couple weeks on these new hamsters have been these new hamsters. We really gotta put them in line, right?
Yeah, you know, Gordon
would
used to
have
say
hard
you never get fired
crashes.
for buying Intel, but we bought Intel, and I think
Well,
think
we didn't buy it, but
well,
yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah, but like I feel like it's a little hinkier than I would have expected.
You know, I don't know if it's the CPU though.
I gotta
Could
ask.
be the motherboard.
Is
That's
hinky like a southern phrase? Because I've only ever heard it from people
It's a
from
hinky,
like
a
southern states
Oh,
so far.
no, that's a hanky.
No,
A hinky. I don't know where I get hinky from.
because I have a friend from Texas who uses it, and I'd never really heard it before. And like, you're like one of the other few that. Okay, Brad's nodding.
I used to hear it living down south. I never hear it up here, so I think it might be a southern thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe I don't feel like it's a thing I ever heard as a youth though. I feel like it came in when I was probably working at the university or like still in the South, but like
So
According-
southern Gen X slang.
According to Oxford English Dictionary, I don't know. Do we like that one?
The actual OED.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
fine.
It says the earliest known use of the adjective hinky is in the 1950s.
Oh, that makes
OED's
sense.
earliest evidence for hinky is 1956 in a text by Billie Holiday, the singer.
She texted it in the 50s. That's
Yeah, I
amazing.
know,
She
right?
must have had
That's
a really good
man,
phone.
crazy.
She was a genre blaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, adjective for dishonest or suspect of a person, or unreliable as an object.
Yeah, unreliable as an object. I if I had to guess, I would say that my boss when I worked at the university in the late 90s said hinky.
Huh.
He seems like the kind of guy. He was a pocket protector guy.
He seems like a hinky guy.
he was a short sleeve dress shirt with a tie and a pocket protector,
My
Yeah.
goodness.
and he repaired microscopes before he got into computers.
Wow,
Like he was the
nerd.
He was the Department of Biology's
like the
microscope repair guy.
quintessential stereotype, like
Yeah.
historical stereotype. That's crazy.
Man, he loved Lotus Domino too. He was like, you know what? We need to get the whole department on Lotus Domino, and he did it. And then he was like, you're gonna maintain these servers, and then he quit to work for a microscope repair place and make a lot more money.
And now he's on Linux.
And then I quit because Lotus Domino blows, and they wouldn't listen to me. So anyway,
all right, Willis,
All right.
how's it looking? You ready?
Yeah.
Do you have the
I think so.
buttons or no? button's broken
I have
today?
half the buttons.
You have half the buttons.
I have
All
right.
half the
Oh, no.
buttons going.
Cool.
It'll go. It'll run.
All right.
Good luck, hamster.
We ready?
Yeah.
What are we talking about today? Oh, that's good. Okay, here we go. Cool. You ready?
We have an ad read?
Nope.
Perfect.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, we talk about Radeon driver confusion, Linux hitting a milestone for gaming, and your questions. And welcome everyone to episode 372 of the Full Nerd Podcast, your home for four PCWorld nerds just sitting around talking about the latest DIY PC news. Five?
You forgot Willis.
Oh, wait, Willis. You know,
I'm
Willis is
never
here too.
counted.
He's not
I'm
sitting
never
around.
counted.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
sitting off to the side.
Yeah, he's
High five.
he's watching us. He's like he's watching us from a distance. Anyway, I am your fill-in host, Adam Patrick Murray, but I'm not alone. I have 5 people here total, including myself. First up is on the line, co-host Brad Chargas. Hello, Brad.
Hello, Adam. Hello, Willis. You count to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Brad.
Brad, I need to ask you right at the top here, did you end up borrowing a child for Halloween?
No.
Oh,
But I
dang
think I
it.
terrified a lot of them by over exuberantly handing out candy.
Oh, like throwing it at them?
Yeah, I was like, bro, come on over. You know you want some Reese. Like I was the carnival barker on my
He's a sales guy.
You're like on a wooden box. Come hither. Come, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I sold it so hard that I actually came inside. Trick or treating ended at 7:30. I fell asleep on my couch like an old man by 8:15.
Perfect.
Nice.
Perfect. Elena Yee is at the table here. Elena, how are you sleeping? How you after Halloween? Did you consume a lot of candy?
Oh, no. I usually hide from the children. Not that there's really many that trick or treat in San Francisco anymore, door to door. And then I browse the next day for candy I might want to buy at discount.
Oh yes. Okay, we
That's my
talked about that.
tradition.
Yeah. We
The
talked.
November
Well,
1
did you
deals.
find any good deals?
No.
What?
No.
Dang. Okay. Well, that's a bummer. Speaking of bummers, I got one Will Smith also right next to me. Hello, Will.
Whoa.
So I went to Safeway the day after Halloween, looking for the candy deals, and all they had was a bag with Whoppers in it. And I thought, oh, I was going to bring candy for Adam because I know you love candy. But then I was like, no, I like Adam too much to bring him a bag of Whoppers. But I wish I
appreciate
had
that.
now.
Yeah.
You should
Oh,
have
sorry.
brought
Yeah.
it now after that kind of intro.
Yeah, wow.
Well,
Gosh.
you love a candy tier list. Where would you put Whopper?
Okay, I have 2 separate tier lists though.
I know,
for
one for
candy.
Asian, one for
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
where
we're
would-
on the American scale,
Yeah,
I assume?
American
Yeah,
American
American
one.
scale.
Oh,
Yeah.
American scale. Okay, I gotta drop everything down.
Wow.
I mean,
Thanks, Willis.
but also it's Whopper. So yeah,
Yes,
you're gonna go even
yes.
further.
No, Whoppers actually would be A tier American candy for me.
What?
Yeah.
Ugh,
I like malt.
Malted balls.
I like
malt
malt.
too, but not a Whopper.
Brad,
Like a milk dud, but worse.
Milk duds rule,
dude, milk
though.
duds are
Milk
awesome.
Duds S
Yeah.
tier.
Milk
I-
duds are awesome. A Whopper is a crappy milk dud.
My
Yeah.
neighbor,
Yes.
we came by the neighbors at the end of the night, and she was like, "Hey, did any of you like milk duds?" None of the kids. I have so many milk duds.
What?
And none
What's
of the
wrong
kids
with the
wanted
children?
milk duds. I was like, "I will take all of your unwashed milk duds, and I will."
You know what I
put
should
them
have
into my
done? You
mouth."
should have just taken the milk duds out of the package and lined them up in the numbers 6 and 7. Then they would have loved them.
Okay,
Oh, no,
so
no.
6, 7.
I've got two
Bam.
stories from
Please.
Halloween from the trick. We went to in Pacifica. There's a couple of big neighborhoods where it's like they block off the streets and it kind of like becomes an enormous street party. And it's like the one that we go to is a
Serious.
loop.
Wow, partying.
There's like 1,500, 2,000 people. It was like streets were
Jeez.
filled. There's parties on both ends of the circle. People do different things to dole out the candy. Some of them were handing out full-size candy bars, but one innovator
Oh.
had prisoner's dilemma the whole thing.
Oh.
Or I guess they hadn't prisoner's dilemma, but they introduced gambling to Halloween.
What?
So they had on one side a big tub of fun-sized candy bars where you could pick 2 or 3. I don't know what they were giving. But next to it, they had a button that you smashed, and it doled out either a trick or a treat. And the treat was a full-size candy bar, and the trick was not a full-size candy bar.
It was a
Uni-
bag of poop or what?
No, it wasn't that bad.
Oh,
But
okay.
like,
that would have been funny.
so universally, the children were like, "Oh hell no, I'm not going to touch these fun
Really?
sizes." No, nobody took the 3
They
fun
wanted
sizes.
to gamble.
They smashed that gamble button, and they got potatoes and mayonnaise packets. One person got a thing of peanut butter, like a small tub of peanut butter.
These are not bad things.
The mayonnaise packet,
Mayonnaise.
mayonnaise ketchup.
You can still use that for
Taco Bell
something.
sauce. I thought that was pretty good.
that's pretty
Yeah.
good. Like,
Yeah.
that's.
That's freaking hilarious.
But like they
See,
cleaned
it
out
should have
the
been
can
bad
of tuna
things.
fish.
See, I'm okay with
They-
it.
I know, but,
Basically,
like,
they-
These are edible things.
If you're looking for candy, a can of tuna fish is not going to do what
I
you're
love
looking
this
for.
though. It's like somebody's like, you know what? I gotta get rid of all this stuff in my pantry. I'm never gonna actually use. All right, let's make a game of
Yeah.
it.
Wait, so
Yeah.
was the person there just physically like reaching into a bag?
No,
and
no,
being
no,
like,
no. They
how is this
built
set
a
up?
thing. They built a box that like
Oh,
the box was
wow.
up and you push like a cardboard plunger on the top and it looked like it went one way or the other inside to release the chute for one side or the other.
Oh, someone's
They did
definitely
some
into engineering.
cardboard engineering.
I really like
there.
that.
Amazing.
It was brilliant.
Did you get
yeah.
a video of it?
No, I didn't. It was too dark.
I just wish it would have been like actual bad things.
No.
Yeah.
So the
Those
other
are perfect jokes. Those are perfect things. Like,
Yeah.
oh, hit the
Those are
button.
great
I want to get a
pranks.
candy bar. Oh, I got a Taco Bell packet.
next year I'm doing potatoes. I'm giving the kids the option of potato or candy because the kids always take potatoes when you do that.
Yeah, see, the potatoes are a
weird.
good thing, and
Yeah.
they can make a light bulb out of it. Yeah. Willis Lies, controlling verticals and horizontals.
Hello, hello.
You went to see the viewing of K-pop Demon Hunters in theaters.
Yeah, and it's that. Yeah, and also the sing along version.
Yeah, the sing along.
Yeah. So
Oh.
How much did
singing
you sing?
and
How much did you dance?
All of it. All
All
of
of
it.
Were
Yeah.
people on their
So-
feet? Were people on their feet? Were they dancing?
Oh well, mostly kids because we were in a earlier showing. So yeah, there was a lot of kids dressing up. A lot of them were Rumi, the main protagonist, and I kind of people who missed last week's episode. I was Genu, the romantic counterpart of K-pop Demon Hunter, and so I went with Diana, my partner. She wore Rumi's kind of outfit. She even we went to Michael's the day before, and she stayed up like 3 hours past midnight just to like braid the hair, the purple
wow.
hair. So yeah, Brad knows what I'm talking about. You guys didn't see it. You guys just need to watch it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
We have a
It's Willis.
K-pop rave hunters. It's called coming through here in January, and I'm going with the girlfriend and my kid.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was fun. It
Well,
was fun.
I brought this is the pre-show. We're
Hold
gonna.
on. Can I do one more Halloween story?
Oh, another 6-7 thing.
Yeah. So there were parents. There were parents of middle school age kids.
Well, the first one
walking
wasn't
around-
6-7
No,
related.
no, it wasn't.
Okay.
The first, it was candy related.
Yeah.
So there were two parents walking around with middle school age kids that one had a 6 on their T-shirt and one had a 7.
Oh,
so
no.
they were they were trying to. We talked to them. They were like, "Yeah, we're trying to make this not cool by engaging with it."
Oh, no, that's the right way to
Yeah,
do it.
this is the way. This is the way to break it down.
Also, but did they look like the characters from Dr. Seuss?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. See,
So-
that's there we
Yeah,
go.
it was
I like
perfect,
that.
right? But then, so the problem was every time they saw some middle school age boys, the kids would start screaming, "Ah, 6-7!"
Oh no.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
It was great.
You could hear where they were around the circle based on where the screaming was coming from.
Was it terrible in a good way, but
No, bad.
terrible in a
It's just
oh.
bad. It's brain rot memes. They're terrible. It's
great.
Gen Alpha can't
it.
do memes. That's the takeaway. They're just absolute garbage at it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shots
At
fired.
least we had a Star Wars kid.
You know what? When you're young and you're learning how to do things, you're not going to be good at it at first.
True. That is true.
I know.
You know what are good? Reese's
Reese's.
and Oreos.
I actually
What about
like Oreos, but I
Reese
don't
flavored
really like
Oreos?
Reese's that
Is
much.
it Reese's
Real-
or
what?
Reese's?
Yeah, we had this whole conversation a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Oh,
too.
I wasn't here for
I'm
that.
sorry. You
Reese's.
got to go back and watch the tape.
It's like
Reese's.
Reese's Pieces. It rhymes with feces.
Oh my god.
You're right with
Well,
Reese's.
at that point, I'm
Maybe you want
definitely
a
not
cookie?
eating any.
I don't know.
Of it.
I've always said Reese's. So what have you said?
I do too.
Reese's.
I say Reese cups.
I'm going
about-
to. I'm going to go watch some old.
Reese's
I'm going
Pieces,
to go
though,
watch
for
some
sure.
old.
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's
I don't,
Pieces.
Reese's
I'm with
Pieces.
Adam.
Yeah.
What-
I'm with Adam. I think we're wrong, but I'm with Adam.
Yeah. No, I admit I'm wrong,
trying
but
to remember
I just
the
have always said that.
commercials because I don't think they.
It's definitely Reese's.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah. But like I just like Reese's. Anyway,
Reese's.
a couple weeks ago we tried the Oreo flavored Reese's. Now we're gonna try the Reese flavored Oreos. I've had these before, so Lena, would you
I'm
like to partake
surprised.
or no?
I'll try it.
Okay, sure. Do you?
That'd be like peanut butter and chocolate whoopie pie in smaller form, basically.
Wow, whoopie pie.
Have
Is
you
that a
had
regional thing?
Are you making whoopie? Is that?
Oh,
that's all I
okay.
know
Whoa,
that from.
whoa. Okay. That's,
Willis?
I'm good.
Okay.
Wait, I automatically
Are
split
you gonna
it.
twist
I
it?
don't
Wait, yeah. Why are
think-
you? You're
I
a twister?
I don't know why. It's just
Oh, it
habit.
comes. It's
Yeah. Well, Michael best.
cookies the same. Oh, I just got cookie in the grate. That's bad.
Everyone's just stuffing their face right now.
Yep.
Our audio listeners.
This is good content.
C tier.
C tier.
Yeah, see, I don't-
immediately.
I don't like this one. I like the
no,
Oreo
D
flavored
tier.
Reese's better.
Aftertaste. D tier.
But it does just taste like peanut butter in the Oreo.
It's like someone wanted to make a Nutter Butter and did it badly.
Nutter batter.
Nutter, yeah.
That's spectacular.
Excuse me. Anyway, have you tried any of these Reese Oreo crossover, Brad?
I haven't yet. No, not once. I'm not a big snacker, actually, despite being a fairly overweight guy.
Really? Oh, okay. I love a good snack. We have some topics that are not just snackable. We've got some stuff to get
No,
into.
they are.
They
rhyme with feces.
Yeah. What? Let's move into the first topic. So there's some stuff that happened over the weekend that we need to get into.
Is there drama? Scene drama?
It's not just scene drama. There has been some reaction videos that were interesting.
Is this what I was supposed to not look at all?
Yeah,
You said
yeah,
come
yeah.
in cold.
Yeah, so you don't know anything about this.
I saw it in my Google News feed last night. I just scrolled right by.
So, AMD, the makers of Radeon GPUs, had a update to their newest driver version. I don't remember the number. I have a link in the description about the article from, I think this one is Mark Hochman. Yep. It was driver.
Oh, God, that's so
I
sweet.
can't find. 25.10.2. And it contained notes in there that said, mentioned that the RX 6000 and RX 5000 GPUs were going to be put into maintenance mode. And that's essentially RDNA and RDNA 1 and RDNA 2 into maintenance mode.
So that's
Brad?
2 generations and 3 generations back.
That's not quite what happened. The initial release notes, I went back and read them. They specifically said that RDNA 3 and 4 GPUs are the only ones getting game optimizations.
Oh, is that what it said?
So I think it was PC Games H in Germany in Terms Hardware reached out to AMD and was like, hey, what does this mean for RDNA 1 and 2? And then they said, we're putting those in maintenance mode.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't RDNA 2 with the Steam Deck and all
It's
of
true.
the handhelds are?
Well, the
basically?
Z1 Extreme series, yeah. So essentially, I mean, we actually have an article. The original article went up by Mike Kreider and was essentially like, oh, hey, that GPU from 3 years ago, it is not going to get current support.
Yeah, and I went back and looked. The 6050 class, so like the 6950 XT was like a $1,200 GPU when it came out. That came out in 2022, like midway through. So this is like not even barely 3 years of support for a $1,000 GPU.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my question. Is this a thing that always happens and they just don't put it in the notes? Like they stop up, because NVIDIA is not doing game optimizations for 3000 series GPUs anymore, probably, right?
No, that's still part of the
They still come in?
update package. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, still part of the driver.
This feels bad then.
This-
This feels like a bad thing.
Will's,
I'm
processing-
angry.
Will's processing in real time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny
coming
to
in
see.
fresh.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to see it play out on his face.
Yeah.
Where he's like, "Wait, how do I? No, I don't think I like that."
Yeah, is this normal or should I be angry? I'm feeling angry. Angry! So I bet the internet reacted totally normally, insanely to this.
Yeah,
right?
the internet was like, oh, hey,
They had a
AMD's
modulated approach to it.
AMD's doing great here. Well, then, yeah, so there was confusion back and forth. Who you said PC Games Hardware? Or who was, what was the website?
PC Games Hardware and Tom's.
Tom's Hardware also, had some quotes. They're all linked in their article if you want to go read it. And then, a lot of outrage, a lot of people writing outrage ponies. And then they had a blog update.
Hold on. I have one follow-up question before we get to the update.
Please.
Clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Is this only the Windows driver or is it also the Linux driver? Because I have different feelings about those two drivers.
So luckily, Linux is not affected.
Oh, okay. It's fine. Whatever.
Perfect. Fine.
Yeah, let it
Which
rip
is a
then.
great segue
Yeah.
to the next conversation.
Yeah, thanks for ruining
Cool.
it. Jeez.
Nah.
No, we're
That's
going
what I
to stay on
do.
this one. So then I'm going to say, what is this? I got this email as a part of a blast. I assume everyone else did. At Sunday at 1:16 p.m.
Oh man,
I think you got that as well, Brad. From the PR representative over at AMD said there appears to have been some confusion regarding the driver we posted on Thursday. To help clarify any misunderstandings, we have published a blog post providing additional content. The full text is at the blog post. We're not going to go over the blog post point by point, but my first question is to you, Will. How do you think the internet reacted to AMD saying it appears to be some confusion out there about this driver?
I don't think that is an appropriate tone to take when people are riding the outrage ponies. I think if the outrage pony, if the outrage pony is in full stampede, you have to express a certain amount of contrition that is not indicated by that post.
Brad, how was your reaction on that?
To them saying there must have been confusion?
Yeah.
Or to they...
No, just to that.
There was a lot of confusion within AMD itself. I agree with that.
I think that's the corporate equivalent of saying, I'm sorry you're offended, right?
Well,
They messed up on top of this. The patch notes originally said it was removing support for the USB-C cable on the old 7900 XTX and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which people use for VR headsets.
Old
And that
VR
got widely
headsets.
reported too. And then the next day they said, oh, never mind. That's not actually in there, even though they had a full thing about you need to revert to the old drivers if you want. This was just a mess.
Well,
if there was any confusion, it was inside of AMD.
And actually, the fun. I guess I was a little confused when I saw all of the videos saying, "Oh, AMD says we're confused." I actually read this as there was confusion internally. This felt like the driver team.
I was gonna say.
The driver team wrote something on the driver. People were angry. There was a part of maybe somebody in the European PR responded, said that maintenance mode thing, and then all of a sudden it just kind of snowballed. And then AMD PR proper was like, "Oh, okay, there seems to be a lot of confusion going on inside AMD. We need to clarify this for everybody." So I actually took that reading as not that we're confused, that AMD had some internal confusion about how to represent this.
And you could say that there was confusion if, for example, a German language post got machine translated to English and the intent was changed somewhere in that translation loop or something, right? That happens sometimes, especially like a games company will make an announcement in Japan in Japanese and then somebody will do a bad translation of it and people go ham. This to me does fundamentally feel like AMD has some sort of looseness in their release management pipeline, because theoretically, in games, when you have a game that gets updated all the time, you have somebody in that game's release pipeline called a release manager typically, and their job is to talk to everybody in the way and make sure that they know what each patch contains and what the main points are so that they can write the notes. And when you don't have that person, then often you end up with patch notes that say things like bug fixes and quality of life improvements as one bullet point in the patch notes, right? But if you see a game that has patch notes and it's like, okay, we change the balance on this weapon and we added a new area here and we adjusted the output of this thing and blah, 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 blah. Then there's one person who goes around and as part of the release process talks to everybody and sees what went in, goes through all the bug tracks, goes through their Jira or their commits to GitHub or Perforce or whatever, and they keep track of all this stuff. This seems like whoever's doing that did a kind of crap job, not to point fingers at anybody.
Well, and then also so I mean, to get to the blog post, so essentially the blog post and the email was tried to spell things out clearly, but also did not clear up a ton of stuff because the blog post says, quote, "This is not the end of support for RDNA 1 and RDNA 2. Your RDNA 5 RX 5000 and 6000 series GPUs will continue to receive game support for new releases, stability and game optimizations, security and bug fixes. The difference is that these products now benefit from a dedicated, stable driver branch, one built on years of tuning and optimization," end quote. So it is still going off into a different version, whether you want to call that maintenance mode, legacy mode, whatever. It is still being forked off into a different driver branch.
But then they didn't communicate that properly, right? They should have communicated, if they're going to say something that's going to light the internet on fire, then the person who's doing the release management stuff should be like, hey, we should put this in front of PR so that they can look at this and make sure that this is cool before we send it out. and somebody didn't do that, right? Like that's yeah.
If you had that thought going out, you should have a response ready for people who ask, because a lot of this it wasn't included in the original release notes. It just specifically excluded them. So when people asked about it, then PR said, yeah, it's in maintenance mode. Like, they should have seen this coming. Because I think what they are saying at the end here is the actual truth. I don't think AMD ever intended to fully turn, the Radeon 5000 and 6000 and handhelds off the game optimization path yet. I think this ties back into what we were talking about recently about the future of AMD, about how they're finally buying in on, ray tracing and Tensor Core hardware. And RDNA 1 and 2 don't have that. So they have to decouple that so they can keep pressing forward with FSR 4. So in that scope, this makes sense. But this final thing that they released should have been what they put out in the first place.
Yeah. Well, like, just to get ahead of it, right?
Get ahead of it, sure.
Yeah.
However, because we've had this kerfuffle, shall we say, it does make me wonder just how much support this maintenance branch is going to get. Now, I think if they had come out with this blog post as the first thing that they had said, maybe my mind wouldn't have drifted this way. But I guess now I'm in this mindset of being a little leery. And hearing this, a part of me does think back to when I was covering consoles more, right? And so how many times did they say to us for the Xboxes where they're like, oh, we're going to bring the Xbox One forward. Oh, we're going to bring this one forward with us. And maybe for a year or two, they get some support. The games are released, supporting those consoles. But then they're just kind of quietly just kicked overboard. And we haven't seen that the same way for graphics cards historically. But we are in some weird territory, right? Like, things are so up in the air in general with the whole tariff situation. I don't think we're going to talk about on this show, but with, RAM prices, memory skyrocketing currently, right? All of this weirdness in conjunction with a bunch of layoffs, right? So it's like, oh, well, is it because you don't have actually the people power to maintain things, right? So is this going to get a quieter, slower, drawn out kind of death? Are we going to see, sure, you said game support for new releases, but which ones? How big do they have to be, right? When you have limited resources, you can't support everything, right? So it makes me nervous now because I think if they had come out with this blog post first, I would have been like, oh, everything's normal. Everything's going to be fine. And then later, maybe we would have been disappointed or not. Who knows? Now I'm just in wary, not paranoid, but just wary kind of mode, a wary kind of mode.
This is... Oh, go ahead, Brad.
I was just saying, I think part of the reason they didn't come out this first, and they didn't actually say everything we've just said, is because they know they're going to have to cut RDNA 1 and 2 gamers off from FSR 4 or something like that in the future, and they just don't want to say that out loud yet.
To me though, I'm going to say something that I find controversial. This is the argument in favor. They shouldn't have put this in the patch notes in the first place.
Well, at first they didn't. It was absent. So somebody asked about it.
I'm saying they shouldn't have put that they're putting it on a stable platform.
They didn't say it. That was the thing. It just didn't say anything. It said, "Oh, hey, this is."
What it did was specifically exclude RDNA 1 and 2. It said game optimizations are only for RDNA 3 and 4.
Yeah,
so it basically put it in the patch notes.
They shouldn't have put that in the patch notes. This is the argument in favor of the Facebook solution to this problem. Which, when you go to the version history for the Facebook app on your phone.
Oh, wait, this is a good example.
I'm not saying it's a good example. I'm saying this is the argument in favor of doing it this way.
Oh, okay.
Their patch notes for the last 20 updates are exactly the same. Our teams have solved many crashes, fixed issues you've reported, and made the app faster. And they don't use the Oxford comma, so it's a double insult there. But I mean, they put the rake on the ground. They stepped on the rake. They hit themselves in the face with the rake. They stepped back, and then they're like, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna step on that rake and see if it does the same thing again." And then it did it again. This is a completely predictable outcome. If we complain about stuff like this and we make a huge kerfuffle about stuff like this, what's going to happen is we're going to get patch notes that are the equivalent of thoughts and prayers, where they're like, hey, we fixed some bugs and it's a little bit faster. Good luck. And they're not going to tell us what they're actually doing.
So, Brad, I can't remember. I don't have the best memory. Ask my wife. this sounds really familiar. Didn't this happen before where there was like something got put into maintenance mode and everybody screamed about it and they were like, no.
Yeah.
What was
the
it?
The Vega drivers, specifically Vega. Polaris lasts a little bit longer. Vega, I think, lasted 4 or 5 years before being put or deprecated. I don't think they called it maintenance mode then. But at the time, they were still coming hot and heavy in all the APUs for laptops. So, you bought the Vega chips, you only got 3 or 4 years out of them, 5 years. And then it was a big issue because it was a short timeline and it was tied to the APUs in much the same way that these new RDNA ones are tied to handhelds.
Well, and so here's my next question that I would love to get some insight into is like, okay, so they've been working on RDNA 2 for many years. Like at this point, like, is it stable enough that they don't need to dedicate a ton of work to it, or will new games could a new game come out even in this stable branch that's built on years of tuning and optimization just completely run a game like crap? Like what is the worst outcome?
That's absolutely going to happen because games are going to keep using more resources and running, blah blah blah. The question is there more juice? Is there more blood to squeeze out of the turnip that is RDNA 2? And that I don't think we have any way of knowing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, because especially for me, I mean there's a couple points. Like I did look at the Steam hardware survey. Like the first GPU that this seems to affect, I don't know. There is like very generic entries for AMD Radeon graphics. The first one that is completely named is like real far down the list, and it's the RX 6600 with 0.92% market share in October. But then also the Steam Deck. I mean, the Steam Deck is huge. It's
still getting driver updates because Valve's knowing that it's open source.
Exactly. Yeah. But also the consoles are built on RDNA 2, aren't they?
Yep.
So
they also don't use Windows drivers though.
Oh, true. Yeah. So could this be like, you know what? For the most part, everything's going to run fine. Yes, it's still going to get optimizations when it needs to be based on market needs or whatever. But for the most part, are people up in arms for nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You started the conversation being very angry, though.
But then I found it didn't affect the Linux drivers, so I'm fine with it.
I will say, though, and I scrolled so fast, so I missed it, unfortunately. So someone in YouTube chat did say that, this makes them wary of AMD, that there's this kind of even hint of turbulence around the idea of drivers. And so here's the thing, right? We can talk about this rationally. We can talk about this, reasonably and say they came out, it wasn't the best, messaging. They came back and they clarified it, so everything's fine. And I think when you look at it isolated, that is true, or you can definitely see the truth in that. But I think when we're talking about this, this legacy, this history of AMD not really being as consistent with their GPU side of things, right? That I think when you look at it from that really zoomed out perspective, I do wonder if AMD did shoot itself in the foot a little, because it's like when you're already working with a reputation where people think of you as the underdog, think of you as not necessarily the first go-to.
I mean, they are the underdog. They have 6% market share.
Well, of course, but what I'm saying is that they think of it that way. It's not even because the difference is, right, because I'm comparing this to the CPU side of things. Ryzen is still technically the underdog, but people have such different emotional connection to that compared to Intel, right? So even though they're the minority still, if you look at actual percentages, they have steadily gained ground and grown bigger because they are able to capture hearts that way. Radeon's never been able to do the same. And so for me, while I'm watching this from a bigger zoomed out perspective, I do wonder if this is just them making it even harder for themselves to maintain what they've got.
So for me, this is 100% AMD shooting itself in the foot, putting down the rake, stepping on it, stepping back, stepping on it, like Will said. And they do have to get ahead of it, because I think they do have serious tech debt that they're going to have to cut this off and say, hey, we need RT cores and tensor hardware in the future. That's what they're trying to avoid here. That's what they're trying to avoid saying out loud yet, is my guess.
Yeah.
Also,
but there was no, I agree with what you were saying. I think that at this point, it doesn't take serious driver optimization by AMD or NVIDIA to keep older hardware going, because those older GPUs are what they are at this point. And I think a lot of devs know what they are.
It's what people are building against, right? So like
Yeah.
like if you're targeting a RDNA 2 because you're releasing a game on Xbox Series X and you want to have Steam Deck as your bin spec for PC, then it's a pretty well defined platform, and you should be able to hit that. It's not like on 5090 where there's parts of silicon that people haven't used people haven't used in a shipping game, parts of the ray tracing pipeline in the 5090.
Yep. And so they do have to get ahead of that tech debt bit, but the way that they did this, putting those nothing burger raises questions of a note in the patch notes. Major flub step 1. Major flub step 2 is that when people reach out to you, rather than clarifying it like they did in this blog post, they just said, "Yep, that's right. It's going to maintenance mode. See ya." People, I think, are very justifiably angry who read that because, again, the 6950 XT came out in May 2022 for over $1,000. And so I think they wound up doing the right thing at the end with this blog post. I think it is kind of going to wind up being a nothing burger in practice, because I don't think the driver optimizations matter as much 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line. But what AMD did was shoot itself in the foot 3 different toes 3 different times. And now people are like, "Hey, man, do I want to buy AMD? This $1,000 card just came out 3 years ago, and they're already putting in whatever maintenance mode is."
Well, good
so
news.
It's just a colossal blunder.
They don't sell any $1,000 cards anymore, so that's not a problem if you buy hardware today.
Ooh, bird.
That's not true, but but yeah, because that's the thing. I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around the reaction seemed so angry from the internet to be like, "Oh wow, you're telling me this GPU is now just I need to throw it in the trash. It's not going to work anymore." But like there's, for people who don't follow this stuff, like normal gamers, whatever, like could have that card and probably not even notice that the drivers are slowing down or that it wasn't a big deal. Or
I mean, you still want those. Like, neither NVIDIA nor AMD nor Intel has ever said we're going to support graphics for these GPUs for these longs. But that's terrible grammar. You know what I mean?
says the chief of PCWorld.
Yeah, there's a reason I write and don't talk. But historically, it's 7 to 8 to 10 years is how long these things, stay in the driver updates. So for this to be 2 years after the 6950 XT was released, people, I get why they're mad. And then it took AMD 3 bites at the apple to try to finally explain it.
Well, and also I think the bigger thing is that on the CPU side, like you were talking about, Ryzen, they actively come out and being like, "Hey, we're going to support you we're going to continue to make AM4 chips until you don't even want AM4 chips anymore. Just stop making AM4 chips." Where that's the messaging on the CPU side, and then here the messaging is it's been 3 years. Yeah, we're good. But I think that's the other weird dichotomy of it.
But I mean, I think Brad's probably right that they're trying to build FSR4 pipeline and a non-FSR4 pipeline, and that's the reasonable place to make the cut. I think that this is 100% a communication problem. They should not have ever put that note in the patch notes the way that it was. And if they were going to put something in that was going to be divisive like that, they should have known in advance, "Hey, we have to communicate what this is so that all the angry people on the internet don't get their red sweaty faces going and start yelling in the microphones."
This actually made me wonder a few different things. One being, obviously, I don't think RDNA 2 or any of those are going to be getting FSR4. 2, until they came out and put this last blog post out, it's like, wow, would I really ever recommend another AMD card again if they're just going to take 2 or 3 year old GPUs and say, "Hey, they're in maintenance mode now"? Fortunately, they fixed that. But 3, it really makes me wonder if they will drive after cutting edge new technologies if it's not being partially funded by Sony or Microsoft. Because, ray tracing and tensor cores have been around forever. AMD never fully bit the bullet. Now that we're firmly in the next gen console, creation, engineering, production kind of phases, they're working so close with Sony, especially. Now they're getting interested in ray tracing and tensor cores. They didn't jump at it before, and that's why they have this tech debt that's making such an issue now. And it's going to be a nasty Band-Aid to rip off whenever they actually flat out say it.
Well, just to be clear, the RDNA 3 stuff isn't going to run that great anyway because it doesn't have tensor cores. It's all running it on shader cores, right?
Yeah, it has some sort of like
well, the FP8 performance.
Yeah.
Like some people have tried to math out the FP8 performance, which it can work on there. It just you take a big performance penalty.
Well, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I was completely wrong. The Z1 or the Z1 series is actually RDNA 3. I was wrong about that. So yeah,
it's only the Steam Deck.
And also,
RDNA
I forgot
2.
the PlayStation Pro, the PlayStation 5 Professional is RDNA 3 as well.
None of us are professionals. We don't.
I have a professional.
What?
Yeah,
You're a professional?
I'm a professional.
Wow.
Yeah, why not?
Fancy. I
Gotta
just,
go all the way.
I wonder, like, this is the other thing. This is the other problem. Like, we've talked about layoffs a lot. AMD had some layoffs last year. They've had, everybody in the Valley's had layoffs. This is one of those things that can happen when there's one person that was a structural support for making good decisions and communicating well in the path. And it's the kind of role where somebody's sitting there quietly doing their thing and they know to bump this up to PR because they pay enough attention to what's going on YouTube that they know people are going to get angry about it. And that person got the riff card last year, and now there's nobody in the pipeline that feels like they have the confidence or the institutional standing to make those kinds of calls. And this is what happens. So,
or it's just that you now lack the person who was good at spotting such things in advance, so that it would get flagged.
Well,
I saw somebody else in chat had said, hey, AMD is basically like a startup, cut them a break.
It was a joke.
yeah, but also,
but at the same time, though, there's a little bit of truth to that, which is that they are definitely much smaller on this side. Much smaller. They have far fewer resources in comparison to, the competition. Even Intel as competition, still fewer resources and, history behind it in some ways. But again,
they're worth over $400 billion.
I understand
so
this.
I don't have much sympathy.
It's not It's not sympathy. Like, I'm working my way to my point, which is like, I have always been confused by the difference between their CPU and GPU divisions. Like, so different, the approach. And I don't understand it because they are under the same leadership, and it's very clear that Dr. Liu Su is just very good at paced, progress, right? Just a clear plan, steadily executing, moving on, right? So I'm like, what is going on in that division? Like, sometimes I just wonder, like, why is it so culturally different? Why is it always just a little bit ad hoc, for the best term I could think of? It just seems disorganized in some ways, and it's historically been this way. It's not that this is just a one-off, and I think that's what we're all referencing when we talk about why I think people have such an outsized reaction to it too, right? Because if this happened, let's say with NVIDIA, right, people would be upset, but I don't know if it would necessarily cause the same sense of nervousness around this blip in the way that AMD has caused us to even question, would I recommend their cards to people?
NVIDIA doesn't have a 20-year legacy of kind of being bad at zero-day drivers.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brad.
I don't think NVIDIA would ever do it. I think this is a colossal shot in the foot.
Yeah.
Right, but what I'm saying is that even if it's this, again, it's all about reputation, how people think of you, this emotional tie-in, which is why I always go back to this, because at the end of the day, there would be no outrage ponies to ride if people weren't generating outrage, because that's based on emotion, right? So it all boils down to that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like, this is just a colossal mess up.
Well, I will say, I was trying to think, okay, the other people who you would think would figure, all of a sudden start riding the outrage pony would be the console people. You're saying literally these consoles other than the PlayStation Professional.
They're talking about drivers, so it's not.
I know, but the whole idea of can we trust AMD? Are they gonna continue to stick around? I just searched for RDNA 2, which I think would be the term that would probably peak this on in IGN. IGN did not have an article about this, at least I can find.
They wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think
this didn't break into the mainstream.
It's not going to affect them, because
it's just weird nerd stuff.
It is kind of weird nerd stuff, but also we've talked about this before. One of the benefits to console is that you have basically committed to this lockdown system because you trust fully that it is going to be supported for the amount of time they say it's going to be supported. And that you don't have to think about any of these like behind the scenes, like technical update type things, right? You just press a button on your controller when it says, please update your system, and it does a thing, and then you just jump into your games. Yeah. And I think it's the same thing that Gordon was talking about with me a long time ago when all the like the Spectre Meltdown stuff happened. And he was like, oh, you're going to have to get off your system. Like, it's not, your motherboard's not going to be supported. And I was like, that's what you think. I have a BIOS update waiting for me. And he's like, what motherboard did you buy? And I was like, oh, it's an Intel one. He's like, ooh, you got lucky. Some government must have bought that motherboard in like gigantic bulk. And so it has to be supported. And I think of consoles the same way. Yeah. Right? Like, even in a world where AMD was like, we're going to push all of our direct to retail type cards, out off overboard rather, the consoles will still get supported because that's the agreement they have, right? Like I can't envision a world where they would burn that relationship by also dumping that overboard.
Well, you think about the number of units they move in consoles versus the number of units they move on discrete PC parts or even APUs. And like the console number has to dwarf their 9% market share across 20 years of GPUs on Steam, right?
Well, but I'm talking more about the trust in AMD. Right. I mean, like, obviously, you can't get a non-AMD console.
Console gamers don't even know what's really in that box. Like the ones who do like the whole like flame wars with each other, hilariously exactly. But they will argue these specs without actually really knowing what they fully are. Like they'll argue over like flops and other things where you're like,
I got more flops than you, brah.
Yeah, pretty much. And you're like, okay.
You only got 32 flops. I got 48. What?
I mean, how many flops do you have?
6, 7.
Yeah, 6, 7.
No.
No.
So I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. But
yeah, I think
guess we'll see.
Arguing on the internet is stupid. That's the TLDR, I think.
Arguing on the internet is stupid, and also we are emotional creatures that are easily flustered, especially when everything hand wavy gesture feels like it's on fire.
Well, also,
I think this is more serious than that. I can get why people got irritated up until that last blog post, and even then, only if you can think through like, oh, they're clearly making an FSR4 path kind of a deal, which they don't explicitly say. That makes sense, but they never say it. I can get why people get upset over this.
Well, I'm not saying you're wrong, Brad. I was boiling it down to its most distilled part.
Yeah, I don't think arguing on the internet is stupid, which it is. I think
you go
AMD
in the comments section.
AMD was stupid here.
I mean, look, AMD absolutely messed this up with every opportunity they had to make it right. They continued to mess it up. Part of that is because it happened on a weekend, which I mean, I feel bad for the folks who got their weekend through it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This is not an outrage pony I can ride. Sorry.
It's not an outrage pony, but I would say I would be riding the
there were some ponies riding.
Nag next to it.
There were some ponies riding.
Look, but
I'm saying I would be riding the nervous nag next to it.
When we talk about this stuff, I often think about walking down the line at Micro Center and asking people what they were buying on that launch day when the people who got up early in the morning to go buy stuff, and it was like Intel, NVIDIA, 9800 X3D, NVIDIA, Intel, NVIDIA. It was all Intel, NVIDIA. And we were like, hey, you know that these Intel CPUs are not as fast as the cheaper AMD CPUs. They're like, we're good. I always buy Intel. I never buy AMD. And this is why people have that feeling. It's stuff like this.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially, sorry, Brad.
I was just agreeing.
I think it's especially a testament to how solid a good reputation can run for you, like give you runway for, because I mean, Intel is very clearly struggling in certain aspects, right, currently, and has been for a couple of years now. But even to this day, they're still like riding out that legacy, that reputation of theirs, because as we did see, so many of them were like, yeah, Intel still.
And like, this is a place where NVIDIA has always invested a lot, and Intel has off and on invested a lot. We talked to Tap about it a couple weeks ago. He's been on both sides of that. And like the difference, when you're a game developer and you reach out to NVIDIA and you're like, hey, I have a problem with card X, and it's like, 4070 or 3070 or 3060 or whatever. then they're like, okay, we'll run a performance profile on it for you, right? Assuming you're a certain size, they don't do it for everybody, but assuming you're actually selling games to their customers, then they will help you out, and they know that because of the NVIDIA app, right? They know what games their customers run, and when they run that performance profile for you, you get like this huge report of all the places that their testers found serious performance problems, and they tell you which eras of cards it supports, and then you can go look at the Steam's hardware survey and be like, oh, this is a 2063 gigabyte problem. I don't care about those because there's not that many of those in the market anymore, right? Like that. Like if we want to talk about all-time bad cards, that 3 gigabyte 2060 they should have fired that thing into the sun. Anyway, the point is, NVIDIA spends a buttload of money on that testing lab. They spend a buttload of money on having a bazillion DevRel folks. They have a bunch of people in every region that talk to developers. And AMD and Intel on the GPU side don't do that. And AMD has a guy. And you email that guy, and sometimes he responds and sometimes he doesn't. Right? A guy. And it's just like if they're serious about games on the desktop and they want to fight this 20-year-old feeling that people have about AMD graphics drivers, they have to start there by engaging with game developers at a high level and making themselves available. And it's really expensive and time consuming, and it's going to take like 10 years before it shows any fruit because they've dug you can't fill in the hole that took 20 years to dig in like 15 minutes by spending $30.
You're hitting the table a lot.
Sorry, I'm adamant.
No, I don't even do that anymore. I don't even do that anymore. Now it's a willing.
No.
Well,
you just did it just then. Yeah, what's up?
Or what if this is just a long play?
Oh, here we go.
For AMD to get people into Linux for gaming.
I mean, look, it is 2025. We like to think of 2025 as the year of Linux over here at PCWorld.
Yeah, so there's let's move over to the next section if that wasn't clear. It's to talk about a milestone. Milestone has been hit.
What percentage of games could possibly run on Linux? It's like 60, 70, somewhere in there?
Yeah, you would think like, come on, you're missing out on a ton of games, right?
Yeah.
Well, according to Tom's Hardware, I have a link in the description because I don't think we wrote that up, did we? Or did we write that up? No, yeah. That the database ProtonDB,
an incredibly useful resource for Linux gamers, by the way.
Yeah, essentially has come out and said that almost 90% of Windows games now run on Linux.
Wow. Like for all time, like from Windows 3.1 on, like can I run Ski Free on Linux?
That is a great question.
Can I run Extreme Pinball from the Windows 95 Plus pack?
Yeah, well,
Can I run Tom Clancy's SSN, a hit DirectX 2 banger from 1998?
You should try.
I don't think it runs on Windows anymore. For what it's worth. DX2 stuff just.
I love this. I actually put this link in my newsletter last week, and I love this because there is an asterisk on that statement.
What's the asterisk?
If you actually look at the chart, there is a difference between games that can run on Linux and games that run well on Linux.
Yeah,
wow,
playable versus
a lot of eyebrow.
It'll launch.
Eyebrow movement from Elena over there.
I mean, because obviously there's the category of, it won't launch because it needs some sort of kernel level anti-cheat, something like that.
Battlefield 6, Fortnite, both in that category.
Boom,
Fall Guys.
Like and we already know about that. But then there's some that are like, you could run the executable.
You can run it, but it isn't necessarily going to play particularly well or without hiccups, right? So if you look at the chart. And Tom's Hardware's their article actually has a picture of the chart in there for if you want to look at it for reference right now. Yeah. So it basically shows like almost like a heat map, right? So everything in green is like runs well, everything in yellow is kind of like and then like the red is like not great. So if you look at the green, it actually is more in the realm of somewhere between I think 40 to 60%.
No, that's a good like 65.
Either way, honestly, 65% of Windows games running well is not something I thought Linux was even near.
Right. I'm not saying it's a bad metric. I just think it's funny because like the headline implies one thing, right? Like you'll read you'll read into it a certain way, but if you actually look at the numbers, there's been a significant amount of progress that's been made.
I mean,
100%.
that chart is
If we're
up and to
speaking-
the right.
If we're speaking in percentages,
Yeah.
100%, yes, there's definitely progress, good progress that has been made, but it's not necessarily the kind of progress that I would expect when there's a headline that says that 90% of Linux games run Windows games run on Linux.
Run is a word that means something, Elena. It didn't say run well. It didn't say run
I understand
with bells
that.
on.
That's why I said there's an asterisk.
Yeah.
Also,
A potato also runs. on a-
Yeah, it runs Doom, right? So I think the other part of it too is that we all know that the ones that have the anti-cheat, right? You're talking about Fortnite's, Call of Duties, Battlefields. Sure, that's a smaller number, but those are also some of the biggest games out there.
Those big multiplayer games are very popular.
Right? Like, I think that's the other hard part is that, like, you're talking about the breadth of library out there, but if you're missing some of the biggest ones out there, what can be done about that, Will?
I mean, everybody has to yell at Tim Epic, basically.
Yeah,
Like
it's his fault.
Well, so it seems like the version of anti-cheat that Fortnite uses, there are games that use the same exact anti-cheat that has a Linux driver that you could theoretically run Fortnite on Linux with. They just choose to not make it available on the Steam Deck.
Is it less
It's that seems like a political
like secure
choice.
or?
I mean, yes, because there's no kernel level. Like on Linux, you can't run stuff at kernel level. There's no Ring 0 equivalent on Linux, right? And a lot of the anti-cheat. This is why
For a reason.
That's why Well, no, it's because Linux doesn't let you generally run stuff at that level. Like
Yeah,
you can-
it's for a reason.
It's
like
a
Linux,
security choice.
yeah.
It's the same as like Windows ARM not letting you run stuff at that level as a user, right? Whereas Windows, the x86 Windows that we all use has been letting people run stuff at root level at Ring 0 for 30 years, so they keep doing it. So your 10-year-old antivirus still works or whatever. We're kind of like, honestly, in a way, the Battlefield 6 secure boot thing seems like a step in the right direction because it's giving Windows users anti-cheat that works, saying, "Hey, our kernel level is clean." But the Linux equivalents are usually a little softer, is my understanding.
Also, you're reading that chart totally wrong. It is not close to 65%.
Why?
Because if you look at the space between 50 and 75, the bright green line is barely touching the 50% mark.
Yeah, but the light green line is the one that matters.
I would put that probably somewhere.
Hold on.
That's gold. I would take
I've got a
gold.
line. I've got a straight line here. It's over. Look, that bright. Even the bright green is over 50. The light green, is about between 50 and 75.
I would put that closer to 60%
What's
personally.
halfway? It's like 62.5 is what it looks like to me.
And this is so the other piece of news that I'm just
But
pulling.
wait, there's more.
Yeah, an article from Tech Power Up, and we're now I'm just trying to put my Linux hat on, my Fedora on. No. The Tech Power Up has an article. A bunch of people have articles stating that 3% of Steam users, total Steam users, play on Linux. Like
That one we
finally
actually
hit.
did cover as well.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, finally hit 3%.
That's almost a doubling since the start of this year because
I mean, look at that.
it was 1.5 when
And
we started.
a third of them, this is the other surprising thing for me, only a third of them are on SteamOS.
Weird.
Which
What a weird
I wonder, but I wonder, well, no, I thought it would have been higher.
2025.
Yeah. Oh, it does actually break down.
Yeah.
So it's, this must be the newest Steam hardware survey. So Arch derivatives, which you're on, is the highest percentage. But that's not where SteamOS is on. Or is it?
SteamOS is an Arch derivative.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then then Linux Mint, then Ubuntu. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Arch must be
No M in there,
Ubuntu.
Thank you.
Sorry.
11 episodes. You'd think you could say it right.
One of these days.
I mean, this is
One
why
of
I'm
these days.
most excited about the thing you told me about this morning.
Yeah. Well,
Spoilers.
but it's not Arch derivative.
Yeah,
either.
no, I know.
So that's it. It is going up. Also, I do want to say that it is bigger still than OS 10. Is at 2.11%.
Look, a couple more doublings and we'll have more market share than AMD does on graphics.
Boom. Got him. All the charts are going up and to the right for Linux. Yeah. Yeah, Brad? Yeah?
I'm actually, it does think that they put 100% or close to it, 99% in that headline, because to me, 50 to 60% of Windows games running excellently on Linux now. That's huge. I never would have thought it would have got there this fast, even once the Steam Deck launch became such a big hit.
This is what happens when you get editors writing headlines. They're like, we need to sensationalize this a little bit more.
Okay, but in fairness, I did click because I saw that and I was like, that can't possibly be like the full story.
But that's a hate click. That's not a good click.
Yeah.
I mean, it still got you
it's
to
still
click,
a click.
man.
Yeah.
Still got you to click.
Yes.
Engagement is engagement. That's why we're in this downward spiral on the internet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting milestone.
I just want to know one good secret that's going to teach me how to burn fat. And
You keep
Dr. Oz
keep
is there
finding
ready
that
to
secret.
go. Yeah.
Keep finding that secret. Yeah. Also, who's this? Nashriel says so. Clickbait works. There you go.
I mean,
That's the bad news.
yes, that's how we got to where we are now.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, we decided we were going to exchange hot takes in exchange for the ability to run arbitrary code in our computers, and it's been pretty much all downhill from there.
Boom. Got him.
I will
Thanks, Will.
say, though, that this is not a new
wasn't there for
human
that.
phenomenon because
Very Douglas Adams.
the newspaper headlines at the turn of the 20th century were very similar to this.
That's true. The all those the angry men about the railroad people and the people getting their arms sucked into the factory canning machines, so our canned meat would have a little bit of extra flavor in there.
Mystery meat.
Yeah, mystery meat.
Not so much mystery now.
Look,
protein.
If you want to go all the way back to the beginning, the complaint tablet to Ian Nasir,
Yes.
definitely clickbait. Like it was definitely, hey, I'm upset about this. I'm going to write a really strongly worded letter. That's
You mean tablet?
tablet? Yeah,
A strongly worded
Fair.
tablet.
I would say stamp a strongly worded tablet.
Every time I think about that thing, I have to think, man, that person must have been that angry.
How angry?
Like, how angry were you to actually get someone, if not yourself, to chisel out
Yeah.
your complaint in stone? Like, whew.
I mean, maybe it's the softest kind of
It's clay.
stone.
It's clay. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
stone. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
still, it's work.
But like you have to bake. Like you'd have to be really, really like.
One, you have to be rich, and two, you have to be mad.
You know how they say, they say like you're writing, you want to
Always be testing?
You want to yell at your politicians, like sending a tweet useless, calling pretty good, sending an email okay, but better than the call. But paper letter, real. I bet you send a clay tablet to your senator, they notice.
yeah, they put you on a list somewhere.
Yeah, that's how you know. Good list.
Anyway, Brad, have you done any gaming on Linux? Check in.
I used to quite a bit. I used to maintain the best games on Linux slideshow kind of that we had 8 or 9 years ago, but I haven't really touched it since the pandemic.
Tux Racer, number one.
No.
So PCWorld was thought
But that was
leaders.
back then. That was back then when it used to be like there was a list of like 30 games because there was only 30 games that would run on it.
Here's a list of
kinds of other
all
things.
the games.
Like if
It
you
was pretty close. Yeah, so like I'm super pumped to see this. Like it's a big difference. I love choice. I love all that stuff. I think Valve's long-term Windows 8 escape plan is paying off nicely.
I think it's really funny. It's funny you say that because it brought back a core memory for me, Brad. But like it used to be. In fact, actually, it turns out it's still there. You can download Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, the Linux version of that, because it was one of the only Linux games, right? Like that in like UT 2004, there were Linux versions of both of those,
That's just built into the package
and you
manager?
can just download it from. Well, it's AUR, but
Oh, I should check my package manager.
yeah, there's a couple. There's like it's just weird that this now 25-year-old game is available still in package managers because I guess some packages never die.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Elena,
Yes, sir.
I mean, I guess you mostly play multiplayer games, which do not have a great track record of being on Linux.
I have never tried to. Well, one, I have never really fully committed to Linux enough to play games on it. And two, I have never even looked into the idea of trying to play Overwatch on Linux.
Yeah. Does this get you interested? How does this make you feel about a potential future?
I am very actually excited for this news. So even though I'm picking apart the whole like percentages and numbers and all that, that's just the long-standing copy editor in me. I would say that it is actually very exciting to see this because the more options there are, even though I don't use them myself, I love having better tailored suggestions for people who come to me for advice, right? I don't actually love having to tell friends like, oh, you're going to spend all this extra money to do this thing that you want to do. I love this idea that they want to maybe set up something basic for their kids, and their kids are only playing like certain indie games that are supported on Linux. Like, great. Now you can give that a go on hardware that you may already have, or you don't necessarily need to invest a lot in expanding your current, lineup of hardware that you have to pull from, things like that. I just think it's nice that they have these options that, in general, as much as I've complained about worrying for the discrete budget end of the discrete graphics cards, like even seeing more high-powered APUs come out, I think choice is just good. And one of the things that we always talk about when it comes to the PC is that there is choice. So it's not that I don't want this to succeed. I just would like a better representation of what it actually is happening when it's reported on.
So
also, I did look real quick. Overwatch 2 is playable on the Steam Deck, so I would
on.
assume that it works.
You're looking at the AI overview, 40% wrong, but ProtonDB says it's gold, so you're in your right. You're in your 60%.
My man.
Great.
Arc Raiders.
Every time my daughter Googles something and tries to tell me what it says because we're discussing something, she knows, no, I'm not getting this from the AI overview, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, no,
That
I
is
mean,
excellent. Please teach young people that, Brad.
Yeah. Well, it links to a video. This is a real
probably
video.
a Sora video. You can't trust that. Just scroll down. Scroll.
Like, look at all these.
Just
videos.
go to Proton. Go to the real source. Arc Raiders came out this weekend, and it's gold as well. So it works in Linux.
I'm having to teach my parents this too because they're so used to, and my parents are actually pretty good about this when looking at sources. But I have to remind them hey, the stuff at the top now, you don't always know where that information's coming from.
Yeah, click on the little link thing.
Just keep scrolling. Just keep
14.
scrolling.
Or you can just click on the link. It'll show you where it's pulling it from. So
yeah, it's probably
That's an extra step. It's just easier. Just get them to scroll.
Always be scrolling down.
Anyway,
back in my day, the good search result was the first thing on the list. Remember that? Remember that was the good one?
Was it though?
The number one result.
No, not always.
Top of the list.
Not always.
Then they added ads.
And then it was SEO farming.
I'm gonna. You know what? I'm making a clay tablet and I'm sending this to Google.
Please, no, send it to the full nerd at PCWorld.com. There you go. All right. Well, yeah, maybe 2025. I still think I would like to think that 2025 is still. We're going to look back as a turning point in all of this.
90% of games work on Steam. That's I read the headline. That's all I need to know.
And argue with that.
Yeah, there you go. So if you believe that this might be the year, then subscribe over to Dual Boot Diaries, podcast where we're trying out Linux. Anyway,
and
Elena's going to be on.
And they're trying to get me to go on the show
Elena's
because there are 2 projects I actually have on my to-do list now that would make it possible for me to have something to talk about.
You're going to make the jump?
I mean, even then,
jump
I mean,
say, but
you ranted about this like a year ago, so like,
Elena loves
come
Linux.
on a rant. Anyway, we also love questions.
We do love.
We get questions in all the time. We get questions in.
Hey,
we get
Adam,
those
why
over
are you
Discord.
like this?
Well, that one too.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam, why don't you have a beard? Hey, why do you
where's
look
your
so
beard, Adam?
stupid? Why are you continuing to be in character the whole show?
Yeah.
That was pretty great.
I upset a lot of people.
Yeah, people
last
were
week.
pretty upset about that.
Upset or just confused?
Both. Yeah.
The millennials, it turns out, haven't seen Office Space because they don't understand offices.
Also, I guess it was.
Sorry, the
it's
Gen
a regional
Zs.
thing
I think
too.
of everybody younger than me is millennials.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I guess it's a some people who not native people who live in America don't know the
Why did you
reference
look at
either.
me when you said that?
No, I didn't.
No,
just looking at the door.
If you have a question and you're live here with us, get it in the chat. If you're watching or listening to this later, which chances are you are, then hit a link in the description to head over to Discord. It should be a new link. It should work. Let me know if it doesn't work. I was having some problems before, but I think this one works. And you go over there. There is a TFN questions channel. You only put questions in there.
If you
and
don't,
hopefully,
Adam shaves his beard again.
I know. I just start. I'm literally just deleting non-questions now. So
Is it that bad now?
Yeah,
I've missed a
we've
lot.
getting like it used to be
Look, Adam's-
fine.
Adam's
And
running a
now
tight
we're
ship.
starting. Yeah, so I have no patience for it. So get a question in there, and hopefully we'll read it in the next episode. I have a question that I want to get into here. A couple of them that actually just piggyback off of what we were talking about earlier. Okay. Just friend of the show, Sneaky Baloney asks, can GPU driver go open source?
Yeah, it could. Everything can go open source if you want it to.
Yeah.
Are they
Will
going to
it?
make some of the main chunks of the driver open source? No, because it has proprietary information that they don't want to share with their competition.
Yeah. Well, should they though?
Yeah, probably. It's worked out well for AMD. Their drivers are way better now than they were before.
Yeah. What is their program? Open bread?
RAD-V, I thought.
No, I thought it was like
Oh yeah, they just said they're gonna stop supporting that to fully go in on RAD-V with what Valve is doing.
Oh, really?
They said that like in the last week or two.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Anyway.
So their open source driver for Linux, AMD VLK, is the Vulkan
Yes.
driver. It's discontinued as announced here. Never mind. Hold on.
Yeah. No, it was.
Oh, so then
maybe
they
I'm
moved to
thinking
RAD-V,
FSR Open or something.
And then, yeah.
I can't remember.
So-
anyway, GPU Open. There it is.
What?
GPU Open is middleware software originally designed for Radeon. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if that's still a thing.
That's the software dev stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's gonna happen on Windows, even with all this. What do you guys think?
Nope.
You guys? Yeah, no.
I don't think, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So very definitive
there you
from
go.
Will.
That was easy.
And then the other thing, so Liquid R in the chat from the show, Liquid R pointed out that some standards groups won't let you do certain parts of open source drivers, like the HDMI group, because they don't want to have to put the keys in public for HTTP and stuff like that. So DRM, it's like
great.
It's like DRM. It's politics. It's sharing code. It's sharing IP. It's all bad. Big companies hate that stuff.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
This one comes in from friend of the show, Brian. Question for Will.
What's
you
up,
talked about
Chad?
this a little bit earlier, but we're going to expand on it. How large does a game or game studio have to be to warrant driver-level optimizations by GPU vendors around a game rather than game devs having to optimize around a GPU driver?
Doesn't have anything to do with the size of the studio. It has to do with how many people are playing the game. So,
what's the level? What do you think?
like you look at the fall off on like the top played games on SteamDB, which SteamDB is one of those resources that's really good if you have a really popular game, and it's completely valueless if you have a game that less than like 500 or 1,000 people are playing. If your game has enough people playing it that Steam has there are 600 people playing this game in your community on your community page on Steam, probably you'll get help from NVIDIA. Like it's not a high bar. They want to hit, they're looking at what's worth them supporting, and if you don't have kind of 600 concurrent players all the time, which is that threshold, I think, probably they'll talk to you at that point and won't before that, I guess. I mean, they'll talk to everybody, whether they do like the full thing and give you the full treatment. Depends on and if it's a pre-release title, they look at things like wish lists and next fest performance and all the same things that like publishers and everybody else looks at to see, is supporting this likely to be worth something. So like when we were doing the Anacrusis, we had good wish lists, and we had a large number of wish lists. We had an ex-Valve developer leading the studio, an ex-Riot developer leading the studio. And so they talked to us and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll totally help you all out because like better chances than not that something will happen with that game. We had really good initial interest. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Next up is friend of the show, mostly running at Stockish, asks, for reviewers of GPUs, should reviewers say, quote, just buy NVIDIA because AMD prematurely cuts off driver support even for GPUs currently available for sale as new, end quote.
I think that. Well, go ahead, Brad. I think it really depends on what kind of player you are, right? If you're playing WoW, doesn't matter. If you're playing League of Legends, if you're playing Dota, if you're playing Counter-Strike, if you're playing games that have been out for 100 years and they change renderers very infrequently, you're fine. Doesn't really doesn't matter. If you play games that come out on day one, I generally don't recommend my friends who were like, hey, should I buy this AMD GPU? If they're playing day one new release games, it's not always a great experience.
I'm going to say It's going to depend a lot on how AMD behaves over the next 6 to 8 months, however long it takes to launch a new generation. Normally not the kind of thing I would necessarily tip my hand in public, but in case someone from AMD is listening, like if you start dropping game optimizations off and games start running bad on Radeon 6000 cards right now, then that's something that reviewers might have to take into account when the next gen cards come out.
It's really hard to account for, though, right? As a reviewer, it's not like
it would be. But if you see like Borderlands 5 comes out, it's not going to be Borderlands 5. That's just off the cuff example. Obviously, Borderlands 5
anyway.
comes out 3 months from now, and it runs good on RDNA 3 and 4, and it just is running at like 10 frames per second on Radeon 6000. Like, I consider that being abandoned. So
I mean, I'd be
you have ways
surprised
to kind
if
of
Borderlands runs good.
how often does AMD even update graphics drivers? It seems like it's not super frequently in my experience.
I feel like there's, I feel like monthly.
yeah.
I feel like I'll get something on the laptop pretty often. Okay, another question. Oh, I should have started. I forgot I was going to start with this one. Sorry. Friend of the show, Cause MC, asks pre-question so that the conversation is had from a place of logic and not emotional emotion.
Too late.
Yeah. Companies are greedy. Anyway, what are game-ready drivers and how are they created? How much work goes into the validation and testing?
Like the NVIDIA thing? Well, they Wickle.
Well,
right?
no, any of this. I mean, this is obviously talking about the AMD stuff. Like, what goes into that kind of stuff?
Well, but isn't Game Ready what NVIDIA calls
Yeah,
their...
yeah. But he's just talking about day zero. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Well, what's the work? What's the work that goes into it?
I mean, there's a bazillion people writing code that goes in every time they look at dedicated render paths through the driver pipeline and like flip things on and off and shift things around to make them work better or fix problems or whatever. So it's like this is why the drivers are 350 megs or something. It's something ridiculous now. Is because
They're a lot more than that.
Yeah, they have like per device flags that basically can say use this part of the GPU, don't use this part of the GPU, stuff like that on a per device level, right? And I think they still download some of that stuff after release these days. So yeah, like it's like the teams it's not like there's one guy locked in the basement of NVIDIA and AMD writing drivers.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, this is a large team. It's a complicated software product like anything else, and it has like a full blown release management schedule, just like a game or a commercial software or whatever has.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say it's some of the most complicated software out there, to be honest. But that's the reason you don't see a day zero driver for every game. Like Will was talking about, like they give developer support to certain ones. Like putting day zero driver support is usually reserved for the bigger games because it is a lot of work going through, changing all those little things. Like a lot of the stuff in the background of games coding and the way these devices interact with it is like Band-Aids all the way down.
Yeah.
Like going back generations of technology. And then that's what day zero drivers are.
Well, and the other thing is now, like they also don't do day zero drivers because there's like they don't want to update in between the cadence. So generally, like the Arc Raiders driver dropped 2 weeks ago in the last driver patch. The Battlefield 6 driver dropped in the one before that, even though the game wasn't out for another 3 weeks. Like there wasn't a day zero driver for Battlefield. Like having to do a day zero driver is kind of it means their process has failed in a lot of ways. And then the other thing is the studio driver. So the other difference is the game drivers update, I think, on a monthly cadence at least, or bi-weekly sometimes. The studio drivers update every quarter, it seems like, or occasionally more often if like there's a new Adobe release. And the studio drivers, in addition to doing the normal Wickle stuff, they also test against Premiere and DaVinci and Fusion and like the kind of like the stuff that hits the GPU.
Yeah, all the game stuff gets rolled up into there as well. So yeah. And we have a follow-up question from friend of the show, Gentlestone. And do the patches for games mess up driver optimization? That's a good question.
They shouldn't, but they can. Like one of the things. So as an example, one of the things that happened. There's different DLSS models that different games use based on the type of game they are. So they have like realistic shooter, like desert shooter kind of Call of Duty type things. They have space shooters where you'll have different bright colored lasers and weapons like that.
Space.
And which model they choose for DLSS is like one of the things that they change. So it determines like what the artifacts are in your DLSS model, and you kind of have to look at that based on how different stuff is rendering, and those are the things that might change in a patch.
Okay, cool. We got a couple more. I should have talked.
I have something from the chat as well. So
Is
whenever,
it around this topic?
Yeah, it's around this topic. So it doesn't have to go right now.
Yeah. Well, go for it, because I should have read this earlier.
It's not so much a question as it is something I wanted to pull out. So a friend of the show, Skeet Sayer, mentioned you can feel the NVIDIA bias on this channel. And I think that's actually a worthwhile topic to bring up, just because. So this is actually, I think of it as kind of a sticky spot for people in our position, the people who review, people who are following this stuff as tech journalists, because there is a perception that if we talk about what something is, and it tends to be that one thing is so dominant that you get this label of shilling for them or being biased towards them, when I don't know, I think it's worth having a conversation around it, because here's the thing. I don't know what everyone else's regions are like, but I will say they're outside of my region having a frick ton of Teslas around. There are just a lot of Toyotas, so a lot of Camrys, a lot of Corollas, a lot of Honda Civics, those kind of cars. And if you were to talk to somebody and when they're asking you for car recommendations and they're like, well, I want a reliable car, it doesn't cost a lot, it's not super fancy, what are you going to recommend to them if you're a car person, right? Like, if you know about this kind of stuff, you're probably going to say one of those cars. And then you might get accused of being a shill for Toyota or a shill for Honda, but you're just looking at the track record. You're looking at what the realistic expectations of that person's experience are going to be given the current environment, right? And I feel like this is the problem we run into, because I don't think that happens with cars. I don't think if you tell someone, yeah, just buy a Corolla, they're going to say like, oh, you only care about big Toyota. But we get this.
No, I bet that happens. I bet that happens.
It's the truck people, and the
for Corollas,
Chevy versus.
I don't really feel like I hear that as much, at least among conversations I have around the normies, the mainstream people who are buying just cars to get around places.
I don't have a Calvin peeing on an AMD logo on the back of my car.
But this happens all the time when we talk about PC hardware. And I think, in fairness to Skeet Sayer, they mentioned as well, AMD is in the consoles, and that's where a lot of gaming is. But the PC narrative, especially in enthusiast circles, talk about, NVIDIA and ray tracing and all this kind of stuff, right? At the end of the day, though, when we're talking about this kind of stuff, I think it's just fascinating to me that people automatically assume some kind of monetary incentive or just a huge bias when we're talking about this look how much market share NVIDIA has, right? So they have it's embedded in our entire conversation this whole time. Look how much resources they have to pour back into these things, which feeds the loop, right? They're so big that they have the money to just send an army or small platoon of people to help optimize their games, to, help different aspects of the experience be better for the end user. So that all feeds into itself, right? And so it is really hard what AMD is doing, because they're so small. They just don't have. As Will said earlier, they have a guy, right? They don't have a whole team ready to be at someone's disposal. So it's not great for consumer choice, but that is the reality of it. And I think it's worth a conversation. I'm going to be talking a while.
I don't
here.
understand the question at this point.
There is no question. There's just, to me, it's a comment. Basically, I think to me, the implicit question I heard is, why are you having such a heavy bias towards NVIDIA? Why aren't we looking at AMD's merits more?
Oh, I got the answer for that.
Okay.
We don't. We just tell you what's up. We don't work for AMD, Intel, or NVIDIA. I can tell you I've been cussed at by major folks from all three of the companies because of stuff I've reported on. Very much so. I can also tell you when I had my GoFundMe, a bunch of those engineers and stuff actually donated to it the same way. There's no bias towards them. There's no bias against them. Our job is to keep it real for y'all. I don't even see too much of the ad stuff. I'm the only one who really does, because I'm the executive editor at work. Our job is to be here and tell y'all what's up. If we're telling you that, this shakes my confidence in AMD going forward, is because it shakes my confidence in AMD going forward. I don't feel like we're shilling too heavily for NVIDIA or anything right here. We just say AMD really messed up, which they did.
Well, I mean, we do have biases. Obviously we're all
Everybody
coming
does.
at, we it's not I think that's the other part of it too, is I've seen people be like, oh, I like X, Y, and Z because they have an unbiased take. It's like, no, but I don't think you understand it.
But
there's no such thing as an unbiased take. Everybody is has his bias, right?
A good reviewer is very clear
about their bias.
Clear about what tends to attract their attention and why, so that you can calibrate for yourself how much you want to weight that part of their opinion, right? That's to me the most important part of it.
Yeah.
NVIDIA pulled Adam and I into a meeting earlier this year because they thought our review coverage of the 50 series was a little negative at times, to talk it out and try to say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? All companies do that. That's not NVIDIA doing something special, but that's just to show that we're not shills. This year, they're like, hey, man, let us point out the positive features again.
Well, and like, so when I say something like, if a friend of mine asks me what kind of card should they get, right? And I know the games that they play. My bias there is I don't want them calling me when their stuff doesn't work. Right. So
that's a bias right there, right?
It's 100%. It's a huge bias, but it's like, I'm going to go and I'm going to recommend the thing that is the consistently most reliable in my experience, just because I don't want to be hassled.
I mean, and the same thing, somebody, I lost the message, but somebody was like, well, would you ever have somebody like give a recommendation to take an art card if they weren't like a super big techie person?
Sure, if they get it for the right price. That thing's still, like, if you can get it for the right price, that's a good graphics card.
Yeah, and especially where they're at right now. Like, I think it takes away a lot of that. First generation needed a lot of like, you probably need to know what you're doing going into it. I feel like with the B series, very, very much less so. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, like.
But it's also an informed decision, right? Like, I'm going to keep going on this car analogy, even though I'm not really a car person. But it's like, there are people who love certain cars that are known to be finicky or have problems, but they are aware of it, right? And they've made a conscious decision. So if you decide, I mean, this is all what I've heard, but like, let's say you decide to buy a Jaguar, and I've heard that they can be finicky cars.
You mean an English Ford?
So, but if you go into it because you know that that's what you want and you know the problems that might be arise from that, then that's fine, right? And depending on the price you pay for the car also makes the calculation of that, go one way or the other. And I think it's the same thing with an Intel graphics card at this point, right? Where it's like, it's mostly fine now, but as long as you're aware that there might be some like hinkiness. I did it. And you get it for a price that makes it really worthwhile to like balance out that potential extra work around it or the mental load with it, then it's fine.
Yeah. So
that's our job as reviewers, to tell you what the state of things are, give you the information, and then let you make a decision for yourself. Right. And then on this show, we're just talking about how we feel about things. Doesn't mean you have to feel the same way.
That you get to understand our biases, where we come from.
Where we come from and how and it helps you hopefully calibrate how you feel about it.
Yeah. So I think it's more.
Anyway, I'm going to put the step off the soapbox, the tiny one.
Love it. A couple more questions around this. A friend of the show, Retro Sean, asks, how long do you think it's acceptable by gamers to have game-ready driver support for GPUs? Or day zero, whatever. A launch of a brand new game, driver support for GPUs. 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? What do we think?
I think it's generally a lot less important now than it was a few years ago, as the pipelines and all the features have become a little more standardized.
I mean, but people were obviously upset about this. So 3 years. Doesn't seem to be
if
good.
I spent $1,000 on a video card 3 years ago and they were like, hey, you're not gonna get day zero support for new stuff, I'm gonna be fairly upset.
So what would you prefer?
I don't have any idea what that number should be. I was upset when they killed support for the 1080 last 6 months ago. So
32-bit physics, you were pissed about that.
I'm fine with that. 8 games use that. Nobody cares.
I'm still really not okay with talking about that yet.
Well, but anyway, the point is it's hardware accelerated physics, just to be clear, not 32-bit physics.
Yeah, physics still works.
The point is, like at some point there's a spreadsheet and it makes a chart, and when that chart goes below a certain point, they're going to be like, it's not worth supporting these 25 people that remain on this hardware, right? Is the number of people that you're going to cut off 25? That's probably okay. We all agree that cutting off 25 people is okay. If that number is 300,000, are we okay? If that number is 30 million, are we okay? We don't really have any idea what the sense of scale is here. We don't have access to that information, so I don't know. I don't know what the time is. I think it depends on how many people.
It's like the recall math.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like recall math.
Yeah.
Does it cost more for us to do the recall than it does for us to get sued by the people who get affected by the thing that we're not recalling? When those lines cross, you do the recall.
It's a business.
Really easy.
It's a business. Well, what do you think, Brad? What do you have a take?
There's no set answer for this. I agree with Will. There's never, no one's ever going to document this and say, hey, we support 10 years, whatever years out of this.
Well, they do that on the CPU side. Ryzen was like, oh, yeah, we're going to support this socket for X number of years.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between supporting sockets and doing stuff like that and supporting game-ready optimization drivers, once or twice a month. And again, they have that tech debt that they're going to have to clear at some point. So Radeon flat out can't say that. They haven't been building that the way they have on the Ryzen side. But to me, like 5 years, I'd be like, damn, really? That's kind of early already. Like we just saw, like Will just said, the 1080 Ti got retired. And I feel like that was a good run. It got about 10 years. I think it got 8 years.
Yeah, 2017.
That's standard to me.
2017 when it launched?
Yeah, I think 2017, January 2017, I think. So, 8-9 years, that's a solid run. 5 years, I'd be like, that's a little early. 3 years, way too early. I don't think there's a real hard answer. But
what if there's only 18 people using those cards still? They have the driver telemetry. They know.
Well, I know, but I get it. It would be a hard business decision, but I would be upset as a consumer if
but we do know, we don't know the actual discrete cards,
yeah.
but I mean, we kind of know rough numbers for the Steam Deck.
But it's Linux, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, true. Yeah, okay. Perfect.
Well, but here's the thing, though, Will, because we're not talking about necessarily niche products, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's a false equivalency to draw that analogy, but I do think saying that, we're going to cut the line at 25 people, these cards were mainstream releases. So you're not going to have like these small numbers that would necessarily facilitate that kind of decision so immediately from that perspective.
Well, I mean, there's a number, though. Like they're
for sure.
They know how many of their cards are installing, how many people are installing driver updates on these cards from their Catalyst software, right? Or from the Adrenaline software.
Also, arguably though, if you have fewer releases and if you are smaller, you're not necessarily going to get the same adoption of users every time you release a new card either. So it's not necessarily that people are moving off those cards quickly either.
Oh no! I know, but I'm just saying, like they have to balance resources against
sure.
thing, and like that's always going to be the calculus.
Also, what if balancing resources is like, okay, well, we know some really awesome stuff is coming up with Redstone. We really need to dedicate a lot of people to it so that we have like awesome GPUs coming down the road. Or do we continue to pull those resources and update GPUs that are already out, right? It is
a push-pull.
Yeah,
it is a push-pull between those things. And the smaller you are, the fewer resources you have to dedicate to each side.
And I think because of the consumer, response, they're obviously going to be making decisions of like, oh, okay, well, you know what? We need to dedicate resources to this to keep this going.
Yeah.
So
they're just playing devil's avocado, man.
Because that's the other thing is like they could have come out, or this could have been a non-factor, and then they were like, okay, cool. Well, let's continue doing business as usual. But yeah, anyway. A follow-up on that. Let me get to the note over there. We got follow-ups on follow-ups. No one can ask, how much performance difference is even on those new drivers? Have you tested it? It really depends on the game. But especially for like pre-release stuff, like we'll get pre-release game code, and either it's an update to the game or a new driver that is coming out by a company, and it's like, oh, okay, well this changes a lot. Like you can definitely, we've seen it, but the consumer, I mean, but that's the hard thing. If consumer just sees that new driver, they don't see the drivers that came before it. Then I guess what does that matter?
They're as soon as like sometimes under a week before launch, things can be pretty rough, and then the right driver comes through and fixes everything.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why your favorite tech journalist reviewers always look so tired after a major hardware launch?
Yeah. So, but also at the same time, even though it might be coming in hot, like I guess the idea is that hopefully if it's stable at day zero, then who cares what it was before that, because the public then gets it. As much as it upsets our workflows. Okay. A couple more questions here. Wow. Ivan R has a good question. I'm going to read the bonus question. If NVIDIA knows that day zero drivers are a thing, that API tweaks are needed for a game to run better, why not apply them in the game itself?
Because the game itself has to support multiple GPUs on multiple pipelines from like Intel integrated stuff all the way up to a 5090. And the drivers often will do so often the game developer may not see that the change needs to happen to support the 2063 gigabyte version, right? Classic example. So the GPU vendor will be like, oh, hey, here, these people are having a bad time. Here's what we can do to fix that. And they'll flip a toggle there. Like this is a thing where everybody's working together, but maybe not in harmony. That makes sense.
Yeah. And piggybacking off that, I think it's a good idea to remember like what DirectX is. It's a hardware abstraction layer, and it's the default for a reason. It's so that these devs can write and have their code affect all kinds of different devices out there. And then these day zero patches from like AMD, Intel, NVIDIA, that's them taking that, broad stuff that might have some optimizations in it and really drilling down for the cards that they're sitting there profiling for. So it's really they have to work hand in hand kind of a thing.
There's also a bunch of weird stuff that happens in the cards that don't get tested as much. So like the 50 series cards from NVIDIA and those kind of lower end cards are basically the same as the high end, just less wide. But also there's sometimes weird stuff turned off that just doesn't exist on those GPUs, and you have to build dedicated pipelines for those. And like even huge game developers aren't testing on 3050 mobiles and weird parts like that.
Okay, two more, and then we're going to get out of here. We got one for Elena. Zaz asks, is 2025 the year of Black Friday OLED deals? Sounds like they're looking for an OLED deal. What do you think? Brad? Elena?
So
I want it. I'm listening to it.
Oh, I would say that prices for OLEDs had been coming down over the course of the year, or even between last year and this year. How do I want to put this? I don't know if you're necessarily going to see the insane doorbuster type deals that you would want to see, but I also think that probably in the next couple of months, this is the best time to buy for a little bit as the whole tariff thing possibly implodes, because this is basically from the reports that have been coming out, this is the last of the stock that came through before all the craziness started really getting applied to the prices of things. So I don't know if that's necessarily an answer, yes or no, but it's more, I would say, a qualified yes with exactly that tone of voice.
You can get right now on Amazon today.
Today? Like right now.
Today,
In
November
the
4th, 2025, 12:52 p.m. Pacific Standard Time now.
Yeah.
You can get an AOC 27-inch QD HD, which is 1440p, right? QD OLED for $499.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah,
You
at
can get
240 hertz.
You can get OLED under 500
Like
really steadily now.
Yeah.
So another way of saying what I was saying is that basically, like, yeah, the prices we've seen where you can get an OLED for more affordable prices in that like $400 range.
Feeling good.
Feeling good about that still. Will we see it necessarily drop dramatically from that? I'm not banking on that. But I would say is that I wouldn't hold out thinking it's always going to get cheaper. If you've been waiting for it and you really want it and you're overdue for a monitor upgrade, now is a perfectly great time to get it, because we don't know what's going to happen next year.
Prices are
we've
tariffs
seen
are likely to increase.
We've seen OLED monitors like MSI's 1440p, like 180, 240 hertz OLED going as cheaply as $400 the last couple of months. And we consistently see OLED deals $550, $500 and below.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that they dip a little bit lower during Black Friday, because I would love to buy an OLED monitor at this point. I'm jonesing real hard. But I don't know. I don't know if that's work appropriate. So sorry for y'all. But I'm going to wait and see what they come out. If there's no steeper deals at Black Friday, I agree 100% with Lane. I'm just going to bite the bullet no matter what and get one of those $400 to $500 OLEDs.
Well, no matter what, you should keep your eyeballs peeled to PCWorld.com. We're constantly posting deals about like there was one yesterday. This Alienware ultra-wide OLED gaming monitor is just $550 today. 34-inch
almost got me to buy it.
ultra-wide OLED. So you know we do cover those deals pretty regularly.
Is that 1440 high or is that 1080 high?
It is.
That's 1440.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
3440 by
I
1440.
don't really see as many of the 1080 ultra wides anymore. They're
Yeah.
pretty standardized to 1440 being the
If you're looking for OLEDs, it's almost never 1080p.
Got it.
Usually the OLEDs are the higher resolutions.
Yeah, makes sense.
So yeah, keep an eye on PCWorld.com.
I was shocked when we went to Micro Center last time at how few 4K gaming monitors they had. It was almost like that was all 1080p and 1440p.
I mean, 1440p is the sweet spot.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But they're still selling.
Like I would love to
5090s
get a
over
4K OLED right now, but I would rather spend money to get a 1440p fast refresh rate OLED than a 4K non-OLED with all the same stats.
And put maybe more money into a GPU. Yeah.
Also, real talk. I'm starting to get older. I don't really need like the pixel density of 4K for what I do. So I'm fine with saving some money and being at 1440.
No, I want all those windows. I want as many
Look,
windows.
Adam's shaking his head at me, but like Adam also has the freakishly smallest font I've ever seen on somebody's phone. So we just
Well,
have
you can
very
on my
different
laptop,
eyes. We just have very different eyes.
Yeah.
Why don't you get eyeball transplants, Elena? Don't talk bad about 4K. Why do you have bias against 4K?
I have a 4K monitor.
Yeah.
I just really
Yeah.
don't use it as
I'm
much
sure
as I
yeah.
do
You have
for
a
the
lot
others.
of 4K friends. I know. I see what's going on here.
Will,
No.
the guy from the South,
Anyway.
being the one who hit me with that statement.
Anyway,
All
last
sorts of
question.
different monitor
Last
resolutions in the South.
question.
We like
We have
CRTs and everything
From
down there.
Cute,
I have a CRT.
Cute Wolf Zuzu.
I have a 4:3
has two
ratio
questions.
one.
Cute Wolf Zuzu has two questions. Has there ever been an after show? And also, is the Q&A the best part of the show? It is for me.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Usually most of the podcasts I listen to, the Q&A is not my favorite part of the show.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, usually.
Wow.
But those are like gaming questions, and sometimes
Okay.
it's hard to like get the same.
Hey, is a
question
taco a
about, like,
sandwich?
No, well, no, it's yeah. Sometimes they
Is
transition
an
out
open
of
face
gaming.
sandwich a sandwich?
Hot dog
Hot
is
dog's an American taco.
Is clam chowder in a bread bowl a sandwich? It's got bread on both sides.
It's round though.
Why not?
There's no
You can
there's
have a
no
round
there's no
sandwich.
planes of existence for it.
I mean, you could slice it, let it congeal a little bit, put it in the fridge.
No.
Cold clam chowder sandwich.
Agent Burndas likes the Q&A as well. That's good. That's good to know. You know, I always worry about that. Also, for the pre-show, we've got, or the after show. I guess we've never had an after show, but we obviously have a pre-show, and a lot of people like the pre-show. We've talked about doing like an after pre-show,
Really?
the show. I mean, no, just like on
like
on
oops all
Fridays.
pre-shows.
Yeah,
it's
just sit around, talk
just
about
oops,
random
all pre-show.
stuff. Yeah, or after show, whatever, however we want to.
Friends over at
call it.
Nextlander call that a ramble cast.
Yeah.
Just talk.
Yeah,
Just talking.
Yeah, so we've talked about it.
I'm out
We've
of
talked
words
about
by
doing
Friday usually. I got nothing left in the tank. It's
that.
empty.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, pre-show after hours. Yeah, the full pre-show. Ooh, that's a good name for
The
it.
full pre-show. That's actually pretty great.
That's pretty good. Because I was talking about maybe doing like half nerd because it's halfway between full nerd episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
the
we
full
actually-
pre-show is actually.
But
pretty
we
good.
actually did hold to a specific style of content
You're
for
right.
half nerds. So like, we would still
true.
talk about nerdy things, but they were like adjacent
Yeah.
topics.
Well, I thought it was only two of you. Was the
and there was
idea
only
the
two of
half
us, so
nerds.
there
Yeah.
was like it was both, right? So we half the number of people, and we half the intensity of the
So
content.
would that be a quarter nerd then?
Elena, you're forgetting the other
No,
major.
it's two separate branches.
But half times two is
No, it's half separate branches.
half times half is a quarter.
I'm not good at math, but you're forgetting the most important piece of why we did it too, is because Gordon was not there, and we got to talk about things that Gordon didn't want us to.
Yeah,
talk
we got to
about.
talk about consoles. We got to talk about
controllers,
the Star Trek, the motion
handheld.
picture.
Yeah. Oh man, Star Trek the motion picture.
man.
Still a great movie.
There was a really good article about Star Trek: The Motion Picture this weekend.
What?
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I gotta
I missed
search
it?
that.
They were talking. It popped up in my feed. I don't
is
remember
this
where
a
it came
joke?
from. No, it's not
Okay.
that.
I was like,
It was.
I was like, wait.
Look, you know how you're reading through the Google News app and it has like occasional clickbaity things. You're like, I'm going to click on this because this is a good headline. And it was about Star Trek: The Motion Picture not breaking one of Gene Roddenberry's main
this one
rules.
from Slash Film.
Yeah, which was the special
Spoilers.
effects. It's not really that much of a rule. it had to be about characters, even though they did a bunch of special effects shots. Because they did like that opening sequence where they fly the little pod around the spaceship, and it's the first time the Enterprise ever feels like a giant spaceship instead of like a thing dangling on chicken wire.
Which Gordon hated.
Yeah, of
and
course,
he made fun of that. So he's like, oh, yeah, so I'm just going to sit there for half an hour just looking at the outside of the ship? What is this, boring?
It's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Dude,
I loved it.
And that's the thing too that was hilarious about Gordon, where he would get so up in arms about this, and it's like, have you never just like sat and like marveled at the like vastness of space, of like the wonderment of like how being such a tiny human being in this like gigantic universe makes you feel?
Where he
like,
grew up in Oakland, he could barely see the moon.
Oh, too true. Too true. Yeah.
Look, I grew up in San Francisco. We have even probably even more light pollution.
The power goes out in San Francisco occasionally because of our crumbling infrastructure. So, you know.
And you got Carl the Fog coming in all the time.
Freaking Carl.
Anyway, we got to wrap it up. Check back next week for your fix of PC talk here on the Full Nerd. You have 3 ways that you can keep up with DIY PC related topics.
Yeah.
Number 1 is to listen to this show on the go.
Mm-hmm.
Like on an iPod or something?
Yeah, and you load it up on your iPod,
Zoom HD?
anywhere an RSS
collection of
feed.
those.
You can get it. Spotify, YouTube Music, Deezer, Pocket Casts, anywhere. You can listen to us on the go in your ears. Just be walking down the street, waving to people, being like, "Oh man, those idiots! I was just listening to that show." Actually, a lot of times I'll be listening to podcasts in the morning, getting ready, and I'll like be in the other room, and I'll just start cracking up about something, and then you'll be like, "What happened in there?" And I'm like, "It's just my podcast.
It's too hard to explain."
Yeah, just my podcast. I would like to think that people do that with our show too, but who knows? The second way, is to tune in live. You could come here on YouTube, the Full Nerd Network, subscribe, tune in live Tuesday at 11-ish a.m.
Pacific time.
Depending on our soundboard.
And hang out in the chat. It's always good to have people here. I appreciate it. Always a good time.
Always be listening in the chat. That's what we always say here.
Yeah. The third way is to sign up for a newsletter. Okay, maybe you don't like listening, maybe you don't like watching, but do you like reading? So go over to PCWorld.com/newsletters with an S /sign up. Actually, I should spell it this way because left to right. And sign up for the Full Nerd newsletter written by one Elena Yee.
That's me.
And every week, you talk about the show, but then you kind of use that as an opinion column, I guess. Like,
I have thoughts.
Yeah, there's interesting stuff every week, and also links to things that you think people who appreciate our show would also appreciate. Mm-hmm. Are you going to talk about these new Windows Crocs this week? Do you know?
I don't know if it's going to be this week. I actually want to put some
testing
feet on time with it.
Always be testing. Yeah. Okay.
It takes a little while for new Crocs to break in.
I've never had Crocs.
Oh, there.
So this is a whole new experience for me, period.
Are you going to wear them with socks or without? That's the real question.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm fully committing to what I think the look is.
Like big wool, gnarly socks, like warm, cozy
no,
socks?
hold on. I want to do some show. Should I spoil it? Should I just spoil show and tell now? Yeah. All right. So
just for you.
Stall for me.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
We're vamping.
Also, I would like to point out, Elena, by the way, Cute Wolf Zuzu, says we do need the podcast of the official newsletter of the Full Nerd.
I responded to the last newsletter. I was like, "Hey, where's my podcast?"
Yeah.
Of the newsletter.
Did you get a bounce back?
Elena, it didn't bounce back.
I lost my headphones.
Oh, you lost your headphones.
There's a plug.
Wait, so you emailed the?
I think he's lying.
The newsletter?
I think he's lying.
I'm going to go without my headphones for now. Yeah. But so we have the operating system for the Crocs, right? We have Windows XP for the Crocs.
Are you using Linux socks? Do you have Penguin socks?
No, I'm going to run it on AMD socks.
Oh my God. That's pretty remarkable.
You're about
Where'd you get AMD socks?
Yeah.
AMD's socks.
I got AMD socks to go with my Windows XP. You know what? This is going to replicate an old system of mine.
There we go. Boom.
When people say we're in big NVIDIA's pocket.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm not wearing NVIDIA socks.
Yeah. You do have Intel socks as well. I think I bought those for you.
I have a collection.
Yeah.
There you go.
Brad's got an AMD mug. Boom.
But it's actually just from a local company that happens to do business with them. I thought it was cool.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Anyway, so always be checking out the Full Nerd. Subscribe over at Dual Boot Diaries.
Yeah.
We have awesome stuff. We're a couple months in, doing great.
Adam's we should have called it Distro Hoppers. Is the other alternate
Distro
name.
Hoppers Anonymous. Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
No, I think I've settled
That's
one.
the next short run series.
Yeah.
Well, no, don't worry. We got other podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the full pre-show. We're talking about
The full
the
pre-show.
the newsletter of the podcast.
Yeah.
I have a podcast I'm working on with somebody about handhelds.
Yep.
I can't wait to start that one. It's going to be good. Anyway, we're going to get out of here, but first, I want to thank Brad for hanging out. Thanks, Brad. Cool
Thanks
shirt.
for hanging out yourself, Adam.
Cool shirt, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good
thank you.
shirt.
Yeah.
I know a guy.
Apropos.
Outrage pony.
Yeah. Lena, thank you for hanging out.
Hey.
Wait, you're also wearing a full nerd shirt.
I am wearing
I
a full
didn't wear
nerd
my
shirt.
full
Where's it's
Nobody gave me a
represented?
full nerd shirt ever.
You got to buy one.
But I gotta buy my
I'm
own
not going to
shirt.
give you one for free.
Wow.
That's the reason to wear outrage ponies.
Usually people are like, hey, we'd give you money if you wear
Oh,
our
Will!
shirt.
Will is pulling the "Do you know who I
Influencer.
am?"
Do you know who I
card.
am?
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, no, I've never gotten a T-shirt sponsorship. I've tried for a decade.
Yeah.
And I've never even when I had a Twitch channel that people watched, I didn't get a T-shirt sponsorship.
Bummer.
Very disappointing.
That is disappointing.
I
But thank you, Will. You haven't been disappointing this episode.
Hey, I think you're entirely adequate, Adam, despite your beardlessness.
Hey, it's coming back.
I
This
tried-
is
I
a good
tried-
week.
Actually,
This is
I
a
feel
good
like-
weekend.
down.
I feel like this came back really quickly.
Yeah.
This is a week.
Yeah, this came back really
Yeah.
fast.
But it's not so this is like the normal length right here. So it's not quite there, but yeah, it's not too
Yeah,
bad.
I trimmed it up so it wouldn't be quite so jarring. the
Yeah, it
difference
actually
between
is.
us.
Yeah, it does feel pretty
It's growing wrong. Shave it again. Grow it back
Yeah.
again.
good. Oh yeah, no, you would have to answer to my wife.
You should you should do the evil Spock goatee for a little bit.
Ooh.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not a goatee guy. Anyway,
Everybody's a goatee
Also-
guy if you try hard enough.
thank you so much to Will Slack for controlling
Hello.
verticals, horizontals. Any technical issues?
No.
Do we-
Cross your fingers. Thank you.
Do we have a name for the new machine yet? Like
Have we christened it?
Little Sparky or
I was
Jimbo?
thinking, I remember the time during the pandemic we were streaming Halo for the longest time.
Oh yeah, we went through all the Halo games.
Remember the
That's
one
right.
character, the NPC character? We named that character. What's the name?
Oh no, Steve or
Steve, right?
No.
Was it Steve?
something Jimmy or we'd have to go back
That
and
might have
watch.
been
it.
Yeah.
Steve, actually.
I was like, we should name that. We should name our new
George?
hamster
Oh.
PC.
oh man, we should get a Whopper. We should get Whopper lights for the front of it. That's a really good idea. Non-flying
No,
fin.
no Whoppers. Whoppers suck.
No, Whopper from War Games, dude.
Oh, I thought you meant the Whopper, the candy. We talked about this. Whoppers suck.
D tier.
And my
D-tier,
first thought
maybe
was
F.
Burger King.
Oh, I take.
I
some
don't know
Burger
why.
King.
Yeah,
I take-
We don't even have
I'd go
one.
for Burger
Yeah.
King.
We
Yeah.
don't even have
You know,
one here.
Burger
Anyway.
King is it's
Anyway.
Bayshore is the closest one.
Well,
It's scary. It has bulletproof glass. It doesn't even have bulletproof glass. It has diamond plate on the drive-through, like that hard metal stuff.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, that's pretty good.
because they got tired of replacing the bulletproof glass. I guess.
Well,
Anyway,
Anyway,
thanks, Willis.
All right.
Get us out of here.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye.
chair dancing.
the Simpsons Fortnite thing.